Shout out to the chess club. We're aiming for a controversial 7 out of 10. To the chess club.
That's most definitely what's up.
Controversial 7 out of 10.
Death to all of them.
I'm vibing.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
16 times the detail.
Friends and fellow gamers, welcome again to the place of vibing, the home of chilling, and the hub of detail.
16 times the detail.
Indeed, Todd. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. We're back. We're back. How's everybody? How is everybody doing? Long time no see, you're damn right. Damn right, but I'm glad to be back. I'm glad we're back. We're here. We're here. Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. We had a fun little podcast with the one and only Joe Raptor. That was sick. That was sick. We had a great time in Los Angeles, and dude, it was pretty funny watching Jor in Los Angeles. One of the funniest things, I don't remember if I told you guys about this yesterday or Wednesday, I think Wednesday, whenever it was. When we met Jor, we were outside of our Airbnb on the street, just like huddled up and talking. And this like homeless guy, you know, we're just waiting for Jor to show up, and this homeless guy comes up to us, and we're in a little like triangle, me, Jacob, and my manager / agent Jake. And so me and the Jakes, we're standing there just talking to each other, and we're all kind of huddled up, and this homeless guy comes up to us and starts talking, and he's high on something. You can't understand him. He's just and he's like making all sorts of sounds. But he comes up and he's talking, and eventually he just kind of leans down and then walks away. Like, we turn back around, and he has left just a little can of Squirt. The soda Squirt. He's just left a little can of Squirt on the ground, unopened, just there as like an offering to us. Like, we're standing here talking, trying to just mind our own business and whatever, and he just leaves us an offering of Squirt. And like, naturally, we didn't know where he had been or what's on that can, so we didn't touch it, but we left it. When we came back later that night, it was gone. So he either came back and got it, but like he left that and then walked away and just left it. It's really cute. And then a few minutes later, we walked past a homeless guy that had been puking like bad, and he was so high out of his mind on whatever he was doing that he didn't even like wipe the vomit off of his beard. So like we walk past him and he's just like blah, 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 like making all sorts of crazy sounds and faces with just puke all over him, and like he had wet himself. Like it was bad. And I was like, it was jarring to see that, and to see that there was like no help from like the city to help those types of people. They just like would let those people wander the streets. Like it was crazy. It was crazy. So to see Raptor come like in his swag, you know, walking down the street, he's like, yeah, it's not what I thought the city would be. I was like, yep, that's LA for you. But LA's so big, like people mistake it. Like there's LA as like a city, and then there's LA as a county. And as a county, Los Angeles County is like stupid huge. Like it's huge. LA, Los Angeles County. So like this is Los Angeles County, and it's just freaking huge. So like Beverly Hills is where you might understand like a lot of movie making stuff happens over here, you know? Thank you for that. Is it gonna read it? I don't think it will. I'm so hyped for Gears of War E-Day, my boy Dom, my boy. Oh yeah, we can talk about that. But like you have Hollywood up here. This is where the Hollywood sign is, up on this little hill. But then the city continues on the other side. So over here, you know, you have Northridge and San Fernando and Burbank and all that. And then like over here, Thousand Oaks, Santa Barbara, all the way over here. And Prisma Beach, Morro Bay, like there's all sorts of stuff over there. But this area, not bad. Pretty nice. There's a lot of money there, so it's pretty clean. You go down to like Inglewood, and Inglewood is much more like techie. It's close to the airport, so this is where like Square Enix, EA, they have offices there and stuff, Microsoft, all those. And then you know, down here, Long Beach, that's like a lot of older communities, also very wealthy. So the city's just huge, or rather the county is just huge. And just to put it in perspective, like, can I do like that to, I don't even know, can I do that? Yeah, like it looks pretty short and pretty small, but just like these 2 points going from the airport to like Hollywood is a 40-minute drive. Just that little bit is 40 minutes. Granted, it's LA traffic, but like the city's just massive. And so you might go to LA and see one part of it with Hollywood and you're like, wow, this is really nice. And then you go to another part of the city and you're just baffled that such poverty could exist in America. It's crazy. I wonder how expensive it is to have a studio in LA. Well, it all depends on where in LA. Some parts of LA, I would bet, are pretty cheap. Some of the places we were near, I'm guessing were pretty cheap, but some of the other places, man, is just... Anyway. Yeah, welcome to any city in the USA. Yeah, I mean, even Denver's like that. Where I live, there's not a lot of big cities over here, so we don't really experience that. So it was extra kind of system shock for us as well. But yeah, man, it's a lot. Yeah. A studio's like $1,500. Yeah, well, it's not as bad as like New York City if you're trying to live in like Manhattan or something. Those places are just stupid. It'll be like $5,000 a month for 300 square feet. It's like unbelievable. Like this room in Manhattan would be like 5, 6, 7 grand. Like it's just outrageous. Crimson Desert news, nothing that I've heard. Nothing that I've heard. I find it crazy how we're possibly getting not only 1 but 2 games from Ubisoft to be a Game of the Year nominees this year. Yeah, and like people will rage about it. We'll see. I mean, I think that both games have potential. I'm very interested in how Star Wars Outlaws comes together, and I think we'll find out more about AC Shadows that will be more exciting. So far, it seems to be Odyssey with a Japanese coat of paint, which is fine, but it wasn't as like giddy and like it didn't make me giddy and like hyper excited. But to be fair, like I felt that way for AC Origins because I'm a big like ancient Egyptian fan and nerd, so I ate that up. But oh wait, Nick Tech posted a video. This looks like it's gonna be funny. Hold on.
Just give me 1 second. I'm parking right now.
I'm incredibly excited for today's show. I'm standing here thinking about all the passion that has gone in to making this show what it is. And please enjoy the show.
World premiere.
They did this guy so dirty. It's so funny. Apparently he had never had a driver's license or anything. There was like some fake news going around from my understanding where like people were saying, no, he did have a driver's license, but they didn't realize, like he wasn't notified it was suspended. But then I heard somebody else saying that no, his license was in fact, it never was issued. Like he's never been allowed to drive. So the whole thing is just confusing, but it's one of my favorite memes so far this year. I will also say Phil Spencer, they do him dirty with these camera angles, dude. I saw him in person at Summer Game Fest a lot. He was all over the campus, and he doesn't look like that, but like for some reason all of these camera angles for him, they do it like nipple height looking up at him. So the camera angle for him is always kind of like this. So of course he's going to look kind of extra round and stout because he's always looking down at the camera. I don't know why they do that. Like put the camera a little bit higher. It lets your jawline sit out a little bit more. It casts the shadow on the jawline so you look less rotund. Like they just do him so dirty with these camera angles. I don't know why. Because Sarah Bond, they don't do that. Sarah Bond, the camera angle is a little bit higher. Same with Matt Booty and stuff. But like for some reason for Phil, watch all of his appearances. Almost always he kind of is like looking down at the camera like that. It's really weird. I don't know why they do it.
And please enjoy the show.
Anyway, random tidbit.
World premiere.
I mean, sure, you get your mega fans,
You are like literally my favorite person.
We hate you.
your chances, and
Snake, from now on. The clock is ticking. This will be a sneaking mission.
Minds are hard at work, cooking up shocking new ways to protect and preserve this Appalachian need.
Hold very still and choose your words carefully.
Hello?
Hello.
Deserve to keep it.
Before we dive into the direct, we've saved one more thing.
Thank you.
Your Honor. Mr. Harris, I'll be giving you a call.
Okay.
Courthouse case, people versus Maya Ison.
Just give
Oh my god. Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. What's the move about? That's the guy that attended a court hearing for like a suspended license from his car while driving. And so like he's attending a hearing because he was like arrested for not being allowed to drive. And then he's attending the hearing about that while driving. It's just like, what, why? It's like I saw another one of those where they were being like charged, and it was a remote hearing during COVID for, I think, possession of drug paraphernalia or something. And the guy is just like sitting there actually smoking out of a glass pipe during the pre-hearing as somebody else's case is being read, not realizing it's all being recorded and they can see it. Like, it's just like, well, they don't catch the smart ones, I'll tell you that. They catch the ones that screw up like that, which is pretty damn funny. Yeah. Oh man. What do you think about the new Life is Strange? I don't know. I don't understand the early access thing they're doing, where it's like, yeah, get 2 weeks early access to the first episodes or 2 episodes, whatever it was. I don't know why that's a game that you need to do that for, but we'll see. I like Life is Strange as a franchise. I like the first one. They did a couple of other kind of experimental things that were pretty good. The second one was fine. I didn't play the newest one where it was like emotional empathy is your power. Nikki played it and she said it was fine. But I'd like for them to come out swinging because it's an interesting kind of premise, and I kind of like the format. But we'll see. We'll see. I just don't like episodic stuff. So like all of those things, I just wait till the whole game is out. I've never been into the episodic thing. There was I remember that one, Odin. There was a guy arrested for stealing a Dolphins jersey, and then he wore the jersey to court. Yeah, the judge is like reading it off. Maybe I can find it. He's like, this is a different one, Your Honor. Oh man, stole Dolphin jersey. Oh yeah, I think this is it. Oh, are they gonna copyright? They're gonna copyright this. It's A&E. Absolutely, they're copyright striking it. But like, he's in court, and she reads off his charges that he has been accused of stealing a Dolphins jersey, and he's wearing it to court. And then he's like, Your Honor, this is a different one. This isn't that one. Which is just so funny. Yeah, and then this guy, man, all these are so good. Yeah, he's sitting like during the pre-hearing and everything, and is just like, wait, what? What are you talking about? Sitting in his car rolling a blunt and then smoking. And the other people in the room are like, what are you doing? But again, they don't catch the smart ones. They catch the ones who smoke weed while waiting for a hearing about smoking weed. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. There was a kid accused of stealing a purse, and when the girl listed all the things that she wanted compensation for, the kid said that wasn't in there. That's awesome. Oh man. Oh. It's the best reality TV. It's the best. Oh man. Okay. So, where to even begin with this stuff? Where to even begin? There were some other things we didn't really get to. I guess maybe should we talk about this first? We didn't really get a chance to go into a lot of detail with Phantom Blade Zero, so maybe we touch on this first. New segment for the masses in your asses. Slay. Welcome everybody. Yeah, then we can do Avowed. I'm down. So, Phantom Blade Zero, I got to play this one at Summer Game Fest, and of course it's IGN, so it's got like a super low bitrate for some inconceivable reason, even at 4K. But anyway, this is a segment of the demo that we got the chance to play. It looks like they released the footage fully, and you've heard it 1,000 times. I'll reiterate it here. The gameplay is much less like a Soulsborne game, like a lot of people were expecting. I know some people knew that that's not what this game was trying to be, but a lot of people just assumed, oh, it seems to be a game with a pretty intense action combat system, and so it's probably going to be Souls-like, because that's just how these games typically are. But no, it's much more Devil May Cry. It's combo based. It's based on building combos and then swapping weapons. So you see down here, each attack blocked costs you extra shachi. This is kind of like your stamina bar. So as you do combos and block and parry stuff, this meter will drop. When you swap weapons, you'll have 2 of them equipped for melee attacks. When you swap weapons, that goes back to being full, assuming that it's fully recharged. So each of the weapons are kind of recharging their shachi independently. So the people who were really good at this demo were able to quickly swap around and balance that well. And it seems like one of those games where once it clicks for you and you understand kind of the flow of combo, swap weapons, combo, power, user ranged, heal, retreat, parry, combo, and then you get in that cycle, then it's going to work really, really well. And you're going to be able to take guys down pretty quickly. Now, apparently IGN guys were told that the difficulty of the demo was lessened by some substantial amount to make it so people could get through the whole demo in time. My demoist did not say that. They said, yeah, no, you guys are just doing well today. So I don't know if there was some conflict in information where maybe they weren't supposed to tell us that they lowered the difficulty, or maybe the difficulty wasn't lowered for all of the stations. I don't know, but I do want to say that the game is potentially even more difficult than what you're seeing on screen.
Blake Rogers donated
just for the record.
$5 through
Okay.
Super Chat.
Thank
Are
you.
we going through the Xbox Showcase post-show for Avowed?
Yeah, we'll go through Avowed. Yeah. I think we can delve into that here in just a few minutes. Definitely seems to have some Sekiro DNA. Yeah, it's much less of a rhythm game than Sekiro. Like Sekiro, for me, once somebody told me, Luke, think of it like a rhythm game, not like your traditional like Dark Souls style game. Once I thought of it that way, it became way, way easier, because then it was all just about block, and you kind of get into that flow and it clicks. For this, it's much less rhythm based, and it's all about kind of establishing the combos and then not button mashing. This is a game that's like tailor-made to punish button mashers. You cannot just pound square and then try to dodge, then pound square again, and then try to dodge. That will just drain your shachi and your stamina. So even now you see that it's drained, and then he swaps. Yeah, he gets a successful whatever parry, and then it refills, and then it continues along the way. But if he's swapping weapons, that would just refill, and you can continue combos on. So this is a game that's just built to punish button mashers. It really seems like the bread and butter and basics of it. Yeah, this is the first little boss, Tai Sha the Frenzy. And this is just like pretty straightforward, teaching you the basics of parrying and blocking. You see, when you block, you get to pivot around, deal some good damage. And again, it's just about these combos. If you get a good combo off, you can straight up take out half of the health bar in one fell swoop. But again, it's not clear how this was balanced. So it could be that maybe in the final version of the game, that will change. And it's like, it's not really about, like one combo could take out a third of the health bar instead of half, or maybe a quarter or a fifth or whatever. It's not really clear, but you can see that it's just once it clicks, it really comes together. This thing though, super broken. I think they need to balance the crap out of it, because 2 out of the 3 bosses we fought, you could stun lock with this thing. It was like a little stupid. So you see it's got limited shots, which I think is how they balance it. but straight up, you just do this. The bosses charge towards you pretty slowly, and you can see how much health it takes out. And like it just took out a fifth of the HP bar, like nothing. And so I think they need to adjust that, because 2 of the 3 bosses that would just stun lock and you'd be easy peasy lemon squeezy with it. The other one didn't get a chance to test because they didn't have that weapon equipped for us. They had a little like flamethrower thing equipped instead. So and I think they had the flamethrower and the bow equipped for that fight. So we didn't get to see if you could stun lock it again. But maybe that's part of the build, is it's like, oh, you just stun lock it, and that's part of the idea. Beyond this, you can see this guy is Commander Cleave. Much heavier attacks. He's got these like swipe attacks that send these arcs of damage out towards you. It's pretty cool. Then you see this flamethrower attack. They can actually fight through it, so you can dodge out of it. Yeah, that right there, that attack sucks. But it's a pretty straightforward encounter. And if I had to rank it, like, it's one of the easier, based on what we played, it's one of the easier games like this, action games like this, that I've played. But again, we just don't know if it was balanced to the final degree or if it was indicative of the final difficulty. It could be that the final game is way harder than what they're showing here, or it could be the same. The final boss fight, this one was just genuinely cool. It has this thing that it can throw, and we'll see if it lands on his head. The first time I did this fight, it landed smack dab on my head. Oh, yep, they did it. So maybe it was scripted, because the same thing happened to me, where it tracked me real close. So you see, he throws it up in the air, and it also didn't stun lock him because he was already in the attack animation. And you see it follows. There's like a pillar of wind indicating where it's going to land, and it tracks. And I think he said you can perfect parry it. The dev said you could do that. But he said there was another way out of it. I think it's by jumping off of the pillars. It can't land on you if you do that. But with this, he said that there are some bosses that do have one-shot abilities. So just be aware of that. Dude, they got caught with it twice and they still published the gameplay? That's funny. Okay. I would have thought they would just cut that second one out, but nope. So with this, let's see if he gets caught a third time. There it is. Okay, good. See, with this guy, you can also stun lock him like that, as long as he's not in the throw animation. But one thing I will say is it feels much less reactive compared to like a Sekiro. So in Sekiro, you know, you parry and you get the clang of the swords and you're actually like parrying and blocking individual attacks. With this, it feels like even when you are correctly parrying, he's still just doing his thing and you're just lowering the damage that you take. It's a small distinction, but it feels much less like you're blocking or parrying attacks by timing them properly. And it feels much more like you're just eating blows that are doing less damage. It's a small distinction, but it just feels very, very different. But it matches kind of how the player works, where the player will go and do all sorts of like crazy combos, and there's not a direct parry from most of these guys that can break you out of that chain once you've started the combo. They might be able to dodge out of it or attack you through it, but might not be able to actually interrupt it. That little parry, that's good. Dealing some good damage. Let's see it. Dude, he's got a lot of damage left to do and not much time to do it. Skadoosh. See what I mean? How that just is kind of cheesy though. Yeah, and the music is very good. You're right. No way. Is he not going to actually finish the fight? No, he's going to try again. Okay. Okay. See what I mean? Like, look how much damage that combo just did. So this is where it starts, and then just watch how this health bar ticks down. So we weakened him there. You see they broke his Shachi. And so you just deal all that damage, half the health bar, in one series of combos. And now Cannon Blast cheese it. No, he's just gonna send it. There's the finisher. Pretty interesting, right? Pretty interesting. So, I really liked it. I really liked it. It's one of those games where I don't think there's going to be a lot of endurance fights. At least if there are, they might be like the low points, because it seems like one of those games where you're just kind of surviving until you get that opening and you chain a huge combo together and you do like half the health bar in one big long chain of attacks. And it feels really good when that happens. So I'm going to be keeping a close eye on it. But I mean, it also, based on the gameplay you just saw, it's interesting because it doesn't really fall in line with the original trailer we saw. Just based on one series of animations we saw back there. Because you remember in this announcement little thing they did, there was one series of parries that he did where a lot of us were like, no shot, this looks fake, right? You remember when people were like, it looks too good to be true. And it's this like dual parry thing that he does against two of these little underlings and fodder enemies. And it just looks so cool, like this right here. That right there, where he does like the backward stab and kick at the same time. I didn't see any of those opportunities for parries like that in my session. So I don't know if this is like a scripted sequence or what. I don't think it's presented as that. But the game still looks really good. I'm just not sure if these types of dual parries and stuff are either still in the game or even that common. Yeah, you're right. Pretty Eye, maybe it's a late game thing. Maybe it's something where it's a specific upgrade or something you get after you reach a certain point. You then gain the ability to dual parry enemies. That very likely is possible. I'm not sure. But it was not... I was surprised because I was expecting them to just spam that and be like, see, that's what a lot of the combat is. It's like all these crazy dual parries and crazy combo animations and stuff. But instead, no, they just were like, here's a solid combat system that's going to carry the game. And then there's also this flashy stuff on the side that you can find. And that I greatly prefer because the flashy animations are kind of a gimmick. Like that'll get old after a little while. It looks really cool initially, but you need more than that to make the game worth playing. And it seems like they actually have solid combat and encounter design to back it up, which is what makes a good game. So that's great. One of the other things that they mentioned to me, the devs, a few times, they mentioned that there are a lot of weapons that you might see in some of the trailers and stuff that are from bosses. And after you defeat the boss, you get the weapon. So for example, this right here, this guy uses that cannon right there that you use later on as that ranged, like spammable weapon you saw in the boss fights. There's also in that other gameplay trailer thing they did, they were using, maybe it's just easier if I go here. So one of these guys, I think it's the second boss, he's using a very particular weapon. No, not this guy. This guy. So this blade that he has, Commander Cleave. In my demo, we were then using that same weapon. Yeah, he's using it here. So he took the weapon from the boss and then used it in the next boss fight. So it seems like there's going to be a lot of that where, you know, you're collecting weapons and abilities from bosses you take down, and then you work your way forward, and you're just gaining power and loot and gear and stuff, which is awesome. I mean, I think that that's great, because then it makes each boss fight meaningful, where it's like, okay, I defeated that boss and I got something tangible out of it. I just think the game looks really solid, and the dev team was so passionate. They were so welcoming. Like, a lot of the demos at SGF, they would just kind of hand you the controller and then they'd walk away. At this booth, like, they would sit down on the couch with you, and like they'd watch you play and maybe offer some advice if they saw you struggling on something. And then like when you'd beat a boss, they would like clap, that was awesome, that was so great, and they all kind of cheer for you. So it was really, really cool, because you could tell they were just so excited to be able to share more of what they've been working on, and that passion, I think, shines through. It's really cool to see. So I think this is a game I'm going to continue keeping a close eye on. I'm very excited to see more about it, and having played it, it's not what I was expecting, but I think it's actually better than what I was expecting. So it's like subverted expectations, improved, and that's good to see, because a lot of games that subvert your expectations replace it with something worse, and so it's nice to see something that is even better than I was expecting it to be. Yeah, this oddly gives me more hope for it. Love how passionate they are in and with their game. Yeah, and I mean that is precisely what you that's precisely what you'd hope, is that the devs are like super proud of what they've done, and they just want to show it to you and share it with you. And that's something that not many I think a lot of developers, maybe they get really anxious about their games or very nervous about media seeing it, and so they get really quiet. Or what some companies do is they hire outside companies to host those events, and so the devs aren't even there. But did they give you a hint as to when it would release? They did not. They would not say much of anything outside of their very specific script that they had that was approved. But I mean, it felt far along. It did not, like, some demos you play and you're like, okay, it feels like we're 6 months out. Okay, it feels like we're a year out, This felt like, so we're dropping this in a few weeks? Is that what we're doing? Like, it felt very far along. So that's good to see. I didn't get a clear vibe for like how equipment will work. I didn't get a good vibe for how long-term progression works or anything like that. They had all of those menus kind of locked down and all of that. Did you give Joe Raptor his gift? Yes, Mia, I did. I did give Joe Raptor his gift. I think I will work with him, and next week we can wear those on the podcast. I think that'd be fun. Thank you again for those. Anyway, so Phantom Blade Zero, that's one to look out for. I think that's going to be a winner based on what I saw. And this is what's kind of refreshing, is so many of these games that we talk about on the daily, like even Avowed, we can make informed guesses. We can evaluate things and try to figure out what's going on with them. But at the end of the day, it's about getting your hands on it and figuring out how the game is in that way. And a lot of the time we don't get the chance to do that until much closer to launch. But with some of these games, we're actually getting our hands on them, and it gives us a much better idea of what these games are and aren't, what they're doing and not doing, what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are, so that you can spot them far enough ahead of time to maybe even give some feedback. Because a lot of these games are at the point where you can provide feedback and they can actually make changes, which is awesome. That's exactly what you'd hope for. And a lot of these devs were asking for feedback. They said, is there anything like we should be aware of? How did it feel? Like a couple of them even sent out like a little survey where they were asking for feedback. So obviously, you just shouldn't expect them to totally change the genre or something. But if you're like, hey, this attack animation felt weird, they can probably fix that type of thing. They can go in there and tweak things, which is awesome. So we'll keep an eye on it. Anyone else watching the train wreck that is The Acolyte? I don't have the strength, so I'm just going to watch cringe compilations. And furthermore, this is the other thing to remember. For Disney Plus and stuff like that, it's only about hours watched. So even if you're hate watching The Acolyte through Disney Plus, that still is a win for them. So consider that. Consider that. Because even if you're hate watching through one of those platforms, they don't really care if you don't enjoy it so long as you're watching a thing through their platform. Like there's a weird world where, almost like The Producers, if you've ever seen that musical, there's a weird world in the realm of streaming services where a terrible show or movie could actually lead to a more profitable show than a solid good one. Oh, it's minutes watched. Yeah, so time watched, effectively. Yeah. Look up Power of Two, Power of Many. Oh, dude, I've seen the clip. It's like High School Musical level. I don't have... Nobody's got like the straight clip, because I'm sure it gets like super copyright struck. Oh, here's a little snippet.
Power of one. Yes, yes. Power of two. The power of many. Yes, yes.
Episode 3 of The Acolyte was, without a doubt, one of the most devastatingly embarrassing spectacles I think I've ever witnessed on TV.
I have a genuine question, though, for those of you who have watched it. Have you, like, the first 2 episodes, how were they? Like, were they also as bad? Because I feel like I had heard rumblings about The Acolyte, but I hadn't heard anything about it. And then it seems like episode 3 is where the crap hit the fan. Were the first 2 episodes okay? Or like, what's the deal? Or is this just like the worst of the worst? So it's like just way worse than anybody was ready for. Bad, but not that bad. Okay, mid for me. Well, like mid leading into bad is probably worse than if just the whole thing were bad. Because if the whole thing were bad, people would just not even bother watching it. But if it's mid and you're a Star Wars fan, maybe you were watching it and then they get real bad and it just goes into the dumpster fire. I thought it was very bad as a lifelong Star Wars fan. It's -10. Cringe is worse than bad. I actually agree, Enigma. I think for these companies, the worst thing is the rule of cool. If your show or game or product, whatever, becomes uncool, we live in such like a social or high social pressure culture that like, even if you like something, people will shut up about liking it because they don't want to be bullied or teased online. You see it with like Ubisoft stuff. If somebody's a fan of like Assassin's Creed, they just don't talk about it that much online. And so people are kind of surprised when those games sell tens of millions of copies. It's like, yeah, well, there are fans, they just don't talk about it because they don't want to be bullied, right? Or like, you know, if you're a big fan of Suicide Squad, people don't really say much of anything about it because they just don't want to be bullied about it. Same with like Forspoken. If you're a fan of Forspoken, you're probably not leading with that when you're talking about games, right? So there's sort of a difficulty for a lot of these companies where they want their game or their product to go viral and to be talked about it online, but they don't want it to be mocked to the point where nobody wants to talk about it further, or at least nobody wants to talk about it positively. And that's been Disney's struggle, is that they just are masters of cringe recently, and they've really struggled to figure it out. But my question, like I said earlier, is with all this negative feedback, because obviously the feedback has been pretty rough from the broader community, as far as I can tell. My question is, with their internal metrics, is it still a W? Because again, there is a world where a show could be so bad that it's actually profitable. Because if they're just trying to increase minutes watched on their platform and hate watchers are watching it through Disney Plus just to see how bad it is, there's actually a point where it probably still is considered a win for them. Even though the feedback's super negative, it doesn't really matter. Like The Room. The Room is a terrible movie. But if people are watching it ironically or because they think it's a masterpiece of cinema, it doesn't really matter. They're still watching it, right? All they really care about is getting you on Disney Plus watching stuff. And as long as you're watching stuff, they win. Right? So I would love to know what their internal metrics are. Like there are some instances where it falls off. Like the hate watchers are still probably more profitable than just total apathy from the public, which is what we've seen like with the Witcher show. At this point, the Witcher show, people have just kind of given up and are just like, I don't care. And at that point, you're just screwed. Nobody's making videos. Nobody's making compilations of clips and how horrible it is getting 2 million views in a day, or Nerdrotic with 650,000 views in a day. Like, nobody's making those videos for the Witcher show anymore because people are just like, I'm good. They just don't care. It's the same thing with like Suicide Squad. People just don't care. At least like hate gamers still like to talk about stuff and are still watching it and checking it out every once in a while. Apathy is just, you're done. There's nothing you can do. Look up the chant scene. It's just, I don't want Disney to come in and copyright strike the whole stream because we dared to question them.
40 solid minutes of relentless, unadulterated, unapologetic, unaware cringe, distilled down to its purest and most toxic form. A show made by people who seem to despise not just Star Wars, but the very concept of filmmaking and storytelling in general.
Didn't they also retcon a ton of the lore too? Like they totally undid a lot of the significance of Anakin as a character, and I just genuinely don't understand like what they're trying to do, because it's like old school fans are going to hate it, and they have to know that, right? Like they have to know that. There's no way they are so delusional that they don't know that. So if they know it's going to piss people off and they don't care, they might be doing it because they're trying to farm, like it's like hate engagement farming, right? Where somebody goes on X and they post something just totally outrageous and they don't mean it, but they're just farming
Blake
for clicks,
Rogers
right?
donated $10 through Super Chat. The budget for Acolyte is double of Obi-Wan, but apparently the viewer much less. So I imagine that they're losing money.
That's the thing with all these streaming services though, is that like they're not getting ads off of it. They're just trying to gauge how, like what their subscribers are watching and whether they're staying on the platform. I'm sure there's a way they can track, like they watched this show and then they canceled their membership after they watched it. I'm sure they can track that. And that's probably like the most telling statistic for them. That's probably what they care about. $180 million for fewer viewers than Ahsoka. Well, yeah, at some point, I don't think it's sustainable. At some point, it just doesn't make sense. But that's the thing with these streaming services, is all of the costs get pooled together with the successes and the failures, and their metrics that they care about are just engagement and like minutes watched, and whether you're watching in one sitting, you know, binging it or whatever else. Are you watching the whole season? Are you only watching part of it? Where are you stopping? Like those are the things they care about, because their whole goal is to get you to subscribe and stay subscribed. So they're just following metrics that indicate those things. But I don't know, man. It's just, at some point you can't spend $180 million on stuff that everybody hates, right? Like at some point they've got to stop, you would think. But with all of it, it just doesn't make sense, because I just don't understand how they could do this and then also go and like, what's the end game? Do they really think they're going to get a new viewer base that's going to come and become Star Wars fans over this show? Like, that's the thing I just don't understand, is I think anybody who could become a new fan of Star Wars will be scared away because, again, the rule of cool, the least cool thing. This is like the least cool thing in pop culture right now. So I think that scares away a ton of people. People don't like being outcasts. You know, like people like joining communities and stuff. And if the community is united in hating X, there's going to be very few people who willingly step into a new community or a new hobby or whatever and immediately become like the heel. Nobody wants that. Disney's proving South Park, right? Yeah, well, and it's like Bob Iger said in an interview, I think late last year. He said, we need to focus much less on messaging in our productions and more on the quality of the stories and stuff, which was basically just a cryptic way of saying, yeah, all of our pushes for like being stunning, brave, and beautiful, first and foremost, instead of just being good, that hasn't really worked. We thought that would help, and it just hasn't. We thought people would like meet us halfway, and it just hasn't. It's why also the presumption from a lot of people that like, yeah, if you just play the line of like keeping these different investing groups like BlackRock happy with certain like social elective pursuits or whatever you want to say, that you'll therefore see your stock price go up. But that's just not true. Like, it doesn't follow directly. Like, Disney is not doing significantly better than they have been, especially over the long term. Dare I say they're not doing great. They've actually dropped 30% in 5 years. Granted, they're paying out dividends and stuff, so there's that. But it's a 75 basis point dividend yield. Like, it's really not that impressive. Even Warner Brothers Discovery, if I do $, then it works. Well, never mind, it doesn't work. Even Warner Brothers Discovery, like, look at this over the last 5 years. Like, what are we gonna do here? This don't look that good. This really don't look that good. So the nice thing about all this stuff is that I'm a firm believer when a artistic endeavor is headed up by activists, whether it's for stuff that you disagree with or that you agree with, that then becomes the priority and quality drops as a priority. And when activist messaging, again, whether it's something you agree with or not, when that's what you care about most, the quality is an afterthought. And these things have a way of sort of balancing themselves out. You know, like if you prioritize that, you end up with a show like The Acolyte, and it's just awful. It's just terrible. And it will lose money. And eventually they'll come around and be like, hey, we probably shouldn't be losing money. Like the one thing that these executives care about a lot more than pleasing like outside investors is their own pockets. And most of these executives are compensated with stock packages that are paying out 2, 3, 4 years from now. And so they get more money if they can boost the stock price, and they can see that everything they're doing is causing the stock price to plummet. And so they're going to, in my view, eventually realize and connect the dots, you know, probably slower than the rest of us, but they'll eventually connect the dots and try to flip the script, come up with a way to make it not so god awful. But that takes a bit of time. So last year, Bob Iger said that, but shows like The Acolyte were already in production. Films that have been in production for 2-3 years will still come out. And so there's kind of a trailing period of time where those things are still in the works and they're trying to fix it and change it, but it's going to take some time. I fully expect in the next like 2, 3, 4 years, you're going to see a lot of games that are pivoting away from the current kind of meta of following in those trends and listening to a lot of those activist types. You're going to see them pivot away from that. But again, it's just going to take time. It's going to take time. Why not cancel them like Batgirl? Batgirl was an individual instance where it was pretty clear that was a tax strategy. So they canceled Batgirl so that they could write off all of the expenses for it to save money on a big tax bill they had to pay. it's silly and stupid that stuff like that happens. But that's just how that's just how it works sometimes, where sometimes just writing off the cost of something like that on your taxes is just what makes more sense. It's not that sexy or exciting, but sometimes that's just how it works. Yeah. Rotten Tomatoes, yeah, I think critics liked it, but the audience has very much not. But that's another thing. It's really, really tough to gauge what is legitimately a reflection of the public sentiment versus what is just like a rage mob, you know? Because like mass downvoting campaigns give you an idea of what a very vocal group of people feel. It doesn't necessarily tell you if that's what the public's reaction is. So you just can't really glean much from it. I think you can get a broad idea of what a certain subset of the industry feels about stuff, but it doesn't really indicate long-term whether that's going to have a major impact. Like tons of stuff that Call of Duty puts out gets toasted online. People rage about it because it's all so cringe and ridiculous, and it's still the most profitable game in the world. Like it's ridiculous. I maybe this is me going out on a limb, but I fully expect that YouTube is probably going to fully get rid of the dislike button in a matter of months. I think they're fully going to get rid of it. No further like Chrome plugins will be able to read it. Even now, it's not super accurate. It's close. It gives you a ballpark idea. But I think they're getting calls from some of these big companies, and they're like, guys, this is ridiculous. Just stop it, please. Like, if all these big multi-billion-dollar corporations are calling YouTube and ask them to get rid of it, I think eventually they'll figure it out. I think they're going to eventually do it. I mean, they're already, I just saw this today. YouTube is currently experimenting with YouTube server-side ads. Where is it? Yeah, so YouTube is currently experimenting with server-side ad injection. This means that the ad is being added directly into the video stream. Ad blockers won't work anymore, at least in their current form, and you will have to eat the whole ad. Yeah, this breaks sponsor blocks, since now all timestamps are offset by the ad times, and the ad times will be variable since one video might have a 30-second ad, the next might have a 60-second skippable ad, the next one might have a 5-second non-skippable ad, and it's all by design. Like, they're just trying to find ways to break it. They're also testing login for video playback. So A/B testing required login for playback. Did a little more digging. Turns out YouTube is A/B testing limited logged out access to YouTube videos. All YouTube related projects are affected, including YouTube's own clients.
Persona user donated $5 through Super Chat. Luke, what do you think about Black Myth Wukong director refusing to be escorted and to pay $7 million to Sweet Baby Inc.?
Being escorted? What? Oh, extorted maybe? Is that what you mean? Extorted? I haven't heard anything about a director being extorted by Sweet Baby Inc. That sounds like a big story. I'm gonna fly in here. But let me pull it up. We can look that up later. I haven't heard anything about that. I'll pull it up in another tab. It says Chinese media from NeoGAF. Is there like an actual article that we can read about it? Because it says it's a Chinese media outlet, but they don't give a name for the Chinese media outlet, so I don't know who it is or if it's legitimate reporting. Is there like an actual outlet that's reported it? Grums broke the story on SBI and games journalists working together for extortion. I mean, I think we all know that they probably approach you or approach the developer, and they're like, "Hey, if you if you don't want us throwing a fit about you being not progressive or whatever, then you should hire us as consultants. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. So I don't know, but if there's a legitimate website reporting on it, then we can look at it. But just saying a Chinese media outlet said stuff, I need a little bit more than that. But anyway, with this stuff, just be ready, because YouTube's gonna try to break all the ad blockers and stuff. Like, my stance, I'm just glad you're watching videos. I don't really care. I'm doing fine with everything as it is. So like, I personally don't care what you do on your side of stuff, but just a heads up, they are actively experimenting with ways to break stuff like that. So buckle up. Buckle up, buckaroo. Tell you what. What else have I got? No, we looked at that. Oh, we should probably look at this. Premium members? No, their whole thing is if you signed up for YouTube Premium, then you would not deal with ads at all. So it's just another way of trying to encourage you to get Premium. Yeah. People are just going to find more ways to block ads. Yeah, I mean, they'll people are still, they're going to come up with new attachments or new plugins that try to work around it, but it's that will be much harder to deal with. Much harder. Because even what they could do is, if it's server-side injection, they could straight up make it so the video cannot be paused or skipped while that video is playing, while the ad is playing. And then after the ad plays, then you can play, pause, skip, whatever. And at that point, I genuinely don't know how you would get around it. But the people that like run ad block stuff, they're very, very smart. They've gotten around stuff plenty of times. So yeah, turns Wi-Fi off. Oh man. Yeah, just get premium. I mean, I've been a premium YouTube Premium subscriber since it was YouTube Red way back in the day, when they were trying to do like their limited edition streaming, whatever. So like they paid PewDiePie to run his own little show, and they were doing all sorts of stuff like that. And I've gotten so used to it, like I can't go back. I'll be honest, I can't go back. I'm so used to this. Oh yeah, there's going to be comments like this as the dislike button. Yeah, there's going to be stuff like that. People are going to come up with ways to do it, but I just think like they already took a half step to get rid of the dislike button and dislike bar, and there's still a workaround for it. So it's just a matter of time before they fully get rid of it, as far as I can tell. I don't have any insider info or anything from YouTube reps. I don't have anything like that. It just makes sense to me. They got rid of it halfway. It's only a matter of time before they fully get rid of it, especially when there's all of these multi-billion-dollar companies that are putting trailers out for stuff, and they're like, a couple streamers put out videos that were negative towards us, and now our videos are mass downvoted, and people are making videos about how they're downvoted, and we don't think that's representative of the quality of our product, blah, 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 blah. And so please fix it, YouTube. And so I think they're just going to get rid of it soon, because that's how this works. That's how that works. Big companies will just disable comments. Yeah, they'll disable comments, and then they'll also get rid of that. They could also, I guess you could also argue they could just get rid of the likes. But the thing with that is then it feels like they're hiding stuff, because they frankly are. So I don't know. Yeah, no, to be fair, freaking geek, I really appreciate the dislike bar, because when you like look up a tutorial or something, you can see if it's garbage before you waste time watching it. Stuff like that is super, super useful. But like with all this, it's just YouTube's trying to keep advertisers happy and the big multi-billion-dollar companies happy, because that's where they make a lot of money. And so if they have to get rid of the dislike bar to do that, that's what they'll do, you know. Okay. Where am I? Okay, let's do this. Let's talk about this because I realized we haven't actually done a segment on this, which is crazy. New segment, Starfield for the ages. Starfield. Praise be to Todd. Here we are. So this somehow has not been discussed on Luke Stevens Live yet. And I know, Luke, baby, what are you doing? It's been a week and you haven't talked about Starfield. Are you okay? Maybe I'm not, but I'm about to be. Because they revealed a trailer for the Shattered Space DLC during the Xbox showcase. And this is interesting. There's all sorts of kind of cool stuff in here. We chase dreams and embrace shadows. Anatoly Frost. And then they flash forward. Now in the past, in years long gone, Bethesda has always done a decent job with their big expansions. With Fallout 4, for example, as the most recent one that can be pointed to, the game story was pretty lackluster, and then Far Harbor comes out and was really interesting. Took a lot of the concepts from the base story and expanded on them, and it felt like that was, in some ways, it made up for the lackluster story. And then Nuka World was like big set pieces, really quirky and weird and just artsy fartsy, but different. It was outrageous, but cool. And it feels like this time around, they're doing something similar with this. I don't know. It looks like it probably fits more into the Far Harbor category in terms of what they're trying to do, which I'm all for. They also show a couple of things that I've seen polarized reactions to. Some people have reacted to like this shot and be like, oh God, they're just going to go all fantasy on it. They're melding Skyrim and Starfield. I don't know. To me, this is at least unique and different. This looks interesting. And in that capacity, I'm more interested. One of the biggest frustrations with Starfield is that things got really samey after a little while. And so to get new stuff, I'm all for it. You can also see down here, there's like a little building, just to put it in scale. Like if that's a 2-story building right there, because that's what it looks like, 1 floor, 2 floors. So it looks to be a pretty sizable building off in the distance. And this thing is tiny compared to this gigantic orb or whatever it is. And then you can see the player character standing up on the cliff face here. So it seems very, very large in scope and scale, which again, you'd hope for. It's been approaching a year, which is crazy since the game came out. But they show this, they've got exploration of all sorts of very different environments from what we've seen previously. They're of course going to be exploring some more occult aspects to the Starfield universe. And in terms of gameplay mechanics and things that might have been shifted or changed, it's not really clear what's here. They do show an instance where you pull the lever and then the gravity turns off and then you can pull it again, presumably comes back on. So there could be cool kind of encounters where maybe you need to be altering the gravitational force on different space stations to navigate them in different ways. There's cool things you could do there. And that was something that I felt was really missing in the base game, were ways to synergize those different mechanics that they had. Even this, you can see like going into little bubbles almost that have low gravity right here. So you're being attacked by some sort of ghosty ghoulie, and then this thing blowing it up. This right here. So you can see there's going to be presumably these sections where you're navigating sort of surrealist environments, these kind of bubbles floating in the air that have no gravity associated with them. And then you're shooting. And this is something they actually showed during one of the original reveal events, was that when you're firing certain weapons, there's an actual equal and opposite Newtonian force that applies to you. So you fire a gun, you get blasted back as well, which is how physics works. And it was something that was never really explored that much in the base game, but it seems like maybe they're going to experiment with it here. Maybe there's entire platforming sections where you have to use stuff like that to actually navigate the level, where you have to fire a gun to blast yourself in that way, or use your boost pack, whatever else. One thing I know some people were waiting for and maybe hoping for were rovers. It seems that rovers are like a separate thing. Dude, there's like a mosquito or gnat that is trying to kill me. Did Todd send you? Okay, I don't know where it is. Okay, anyway. With that, some people were hoping for rovers. It seems like rovers are coming at a later date. And it will not be included in the DLC. The DLC was in the works well before they decided to add rovers and stuff. But we see this shot with all the people presumably in cryostasis waiting to be awoken, coming 2024. So it's still coming this year, which is good to see. And then they say, and new content coming tonight. They're adding new stuff. Pool, new locations, space stations. Ooh, baby, love to see it. New gear, love to see it. New bounties, cool. Plus new custom content. Yeah. Microtransactions. Here we go. Creation Club. This one, Trackers Alliance, the Vulture. Ancient Mariner module. Okay, Constellation plushie set. Those are cool. I'll give them that. That's cool. So they're adding that stuff from Bethesda Game Studios and community support. Yeah, and they're actually starting to try and crank that out and build it up. New update available tonight. I don't know. Do you guys think that's worth like a full video going through? Do you think that's worth covering? Maybe. I don't know. But it seems at the very least they are trying to now get back in the groove of putting out more content, giving people more stuff. Now, for me, my frustrations with Starfield are primarily content related. It gets super repetitive. I think the fundamentals are there. There's a few design choices that I think just don't click together that well, and it only really is exposed when the game scales to the size it was. Like if the game were 20, 30 hours long, I think it would have been, I think people wouldn't have been that frustrated with it. But the problem is that with 1,000 planets, like any shortcomings with exploration or variety are going to be very, very clear. And that's why the more people played, the more the average like user review was starting to drop and the reception dropped and the public perception dropped. And it's just because like they started to see through the facade. They were able to kind of see how the sausage was being made. It's why it was so bizarre. I remember when reviews dropped, some people were saying, yeah, Starfield, honestly, I think you should just blast your way through the main story and then just start grinding. Or other people were like, don't do any of the main faction content or main story. Just go out and explore freely. Like there were people that put 50 hours in before even getting the first sort of pseudo magical ability, which is crazy. So I think like with all this, more content's better. There's no doubting that. The more stuff we have, the better. With this, it at the very least seems like they're trying to do some different stuff. They're adding new space stations to explore. It's not clear how big this is going to be. Is it like a 20-hour expansion? Is it 5 hours? Is it 40? We just don't really know. But it seems like there is at least a good variety of stuff. They show some different locations, but there's kind of multiple ways that you could take it. It could be that this is the one location where the cult is gathered. There's one space station that you explore. All of this stuff is at that location we were just looking at. And so effectively there's 2 locations that have been added and tweaked. And you see it's all kind of around the same theme. That could be enough for it to be fun. But I saw one person on X that was saying, I expect that we get maybe a few dozen planets that have been custom built to be used in this DLC. And I'm like, I'm not sure we would go that far. I'm not sure if we'd do that. I don't know. Cool Master Manga, thank you for the 5. Love your content and takes, Luke. I'm curious, despite the threat of Todd sending his goon squad after you, what are your right now thoughts on Elder Scrolls 6? My thoughts on ES6 right now are that BGS games are already a fair bit behind the industry, technologically speaking. They've said with Elder Scrolls 6, they want to be cutting edge. They want to push the boundary. They want to be more epic. Todd said in many interviews, he wants the Elder Scrolls to be a game series about escaping to another world, living another life. Like that's the whole premise. They want to go big and crazy with it. But if they already feel behind the curve, technologically speaking, in 4 or 5 years when that game launches, it's going to be even further behind the curve. Like if they launch, like Fallout 4 was already a little bit behind. Fallout 76, way behind. Starfield, a good bit behind what their peers are doing. And then Elder Scrolls 6, I think, is going to be a lot behind what the peers are doing. Because again, remember, like 2028, I know some people are like, it's coming 2026. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. Maybe, but probably more likely 27, 28, somewhere in there. But with that, like, just imagine the types of games that we've already seen through like the Xbox showcase, for example, and some of the rumblings of what like Sony studios are working on. I just don't think we're going to see a lot of improvements on Bethesda's side. Like by that point, we should probably be seeing The Witcher 4. And at that point, like, do you really think that The Witcher 4 is going to be on the same level as Elder Scrolls 6? I don't think so. And as we've seen, those games will be compared. Like games will be compared if they're even somewhat similar. If they're in like, oh, well, they're both fantasy games. Yeah, that's enough for people to compare. And I just don't know how Bethesda is going to hold a candle to the scope, scale, and fidelity that they will present. Now, that isn't the end of the world. You can still have a game that's lower on the fidelity scale that's still really good and worth playing. There's no doubt. And being on Game Pass day one, as I'm sure it will be, will certainly help a lot. But I'm not thinking, I don't think it's going to be like a 10 out of 10, Skyrim all over again. I don't think it'll be that big. People are going to get hyped and excited for it, I'm sure, as they did with Starfield. And then it'll come out. People will be like, it's okay, or it's pretty good, and they'll move on. And it's just going to be kind of a retelling of this. I don't expect any magical comeback. Because I think Bethesda just makes these kinds of games. Like they just make solid games their fan base loves. And if you're expecting it to be like cutting edge industry leading, you're probably going to be disappointed. They got kind of, they struck or caught lightning in a bottle with Skyrim. It came out at the perfect time and it was huge and vast and people loved it. And I just don't really foresee them doing that again. Because we know what some of the contemporary studios and peer studios are working on. We know what like CDPR is working on, and we know what they're capable of. And I think that CDPR's track record more recently with like Phantom Liberty and everything leaves me more confident in their abilities. I think that's my stance. But going back to Starfield, I welcome the expansion. I want it to be good. I hope it's a Far Harbor example and it just comes out and it slays and ends up being really, really good. That's my hope. I think rovers will be interesting when they eventually add those. That'll be weird to see. I hope it's not just a reworked, reskin kind of thing of the jetpacks, which is what I have a feeling it is. I think it's just a boost pack that's been altered, but that's I think that's about it. But beyond that, I think we'll keep an eye on it. And when it releases later this year, we'll figure out what their long-term visions are. Let's see. People want to relive the feeling they got when they first booted Skyrim up and heard, "You're finally awake." Yeah. It's just that any game like Skyrim is one of those once in a decade games where it comes and it didn't really, you wouldn't have thought that it would pop off as much as it did, but it just blows up. And so it's kind of like Baldur's Gate. Like it comes along, it blows up, and everybody's like, oh, geez, I didn't even know I wanted a game like this. This is amazing. But the thing is, like, Bethesda has then after that made more games, and I think some of the magic is gone just a little bit, and then there's some basic design philosophies that have just shifted and were tolerable in the 2000s or early 2010s, and nowadays I think people just don't tolerate it. Like, the bugs were endearing back when Skyrim came out. Nowadays, it's totally unacceptable. You know, you could get away with having, you know, sort of outdated tech. People have been talking about the creation engine being out of date for well over a decade. Like, even around the time of Skyrim, I pulled up a video review of Skyrim from 2011, and people were saying back then the engine was out of date. Like, that's crazy that in 2011 they were saying those same things. And none of that's changed. And I think now the tolerance for that stuff is even lower. But anyway, let's shift forward.
Ratings for games in this podcast.
News segment. Let's see this. Avowed. Introductions. What you got?
At the Xbox Game Showcase. If you want to watch the other episodes, definitely check them out at youtube.com/Xbox, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcasts. And I have a very special guest co-host, I should say, with me today. The fans love her, the viewers love her. It's Tina Meany. Tina,
hello.
How are you?
I'm doing great. So
I think I saw him at SGF. I think.
excited for this kickoff of a really incredible
Looks
week that you
familiar.
are hosting for us.
You know,
so thank you.
I'm cracking my knuckles. I'm getting ready. This is going to be a tough one, but I'm so excited. Like
A fun one.
Exactly. To your point, though, like this is going to be exciting. We just came off of the game showcase, and now, like, we're going to learn a little bit more about games. But we have a special guest with us today.
We
don't
do, an even more special guest, and one of my personal faves. It's Carrie Patel, game director on Avowed. Welcome back, Carrie.
Carrie
Thank you so much.
Patel.
It's great to be here.
Oh man, you have been to the studio several times now.
Yeah,
It is such
exactly.
a treat that you spend so much time out here with us. We had you on Extended Showcase last year. We did an interview. This was after, you know, one of the very first forays into Avowed, so that was very exciting. And then we actually had you on this podcast with a slightly different visual design.
Yeah, the cheese set is gone.
The cheese couch is gone.
Yeah.
Yes,
We have a
exactly. Jeff is
table.
very happy about that. We got some, like, you know,
These corporate podcasts are always so funny to me because, like, Disney does one I remember hearing about at what's her name, Nichols, Jenny, I think Nichols, I want to say, is that right? She did the Star Wars hotel video that went viral. Apparently Disney does one of these podcasts where they just like pay people to hype up their brand. It's just really weird. I don't know. It's just funny. Jenny Nicholson. Nicholson. Okay. I was close.
which was earlier this year. Incredible show, incredible viewing from the team. And it
Stunning.
was so fun to get this deeper dive. So now we get to do that again, but following Showcase.
That's
So,
right.
man, you are spoiling us in the audience.
That's
well,
right.
It's great to be here, and I'm definitely excited to show off what the team has been working on and excited to take a deeper dive into story today.
Ooh, well, let's talk
Love
about that. So, as Tina mentioned,
Love it. It's driving me crazy how their mics have no bass whatsoever. I was thinking maybe these were like the RE. No, there's a different one that that they make, the same brand makes, that's really tinny as a microphone, but these look like actual RE20 mics. So I don't know why it sounds so tinny. They just have balanced them weird, but it's driving me crazy. I didn't notice until I put headphones on. Now it's driving me crazy. Anyway, shifting gears back to the topic at hand. Avowed is a game, like, it's coming from Obsidian. Obsidian, they've done some solid stuff in the past. They did Pentiment, which was a literal 10 out of 10, but very, very niche. And they also did Outer Worlds, which was like good, not great, but good. Just a fun foray into space with kind of a Fallout theme sort of vibe, I guess you could say. But they make solid games, and they specialize in RPGs and stuff. And the first trailer they did for Avowed was that really dark and gritty one with the arrow, if you remember that. Let me see. Avowed announcement trailer. Avowed announced trailer. I think this is it. You remember this? So I look at this trailer, and what comes to mind when you see this? I think of like super dark and gritty fantasy. Like, I think of this, or I see this, and I think of like, you know, The Witcher type of fantasy. Like, I just think of it as dark, violent. Like, look at that. Oh, it's like, that's awesome. The magic also at play here. It looks haunting. And then the underground civilization, implying, you know, that there's many secrets within this world. And then you see this kind of step forward. You see the player character come out. It's still very dark. And there's some big monster through that cavern that you're going to fight. And you're here for it. So this set the tone for Avowed. People saw that and were like, okay. Dark and gritty fantasy from Obsidian? Bring it on. But then we got some other trailers for Avowed that confused people a lot more. The trailers weren't like bad, but they were just very, very different. So like there was 4 months ago, maybe, is that the one? Gameplay, the original gameplay trailer, people were really confused by. So they did this, and the world they show is just super colorful. It doesn't look anything like that first trailer. It's just very confusing because you're like, is this even the same game? I remember when we saw this initially, I thought maybe it was a different game that they were announcing separately. I was like, are they just doing Elder Scrolls, but like a New Vegas spin-off game? I thought maybe is what they were doing, and Avowed was something else. But no, this is Avowed. Especially this shot. I was like, what is this? This doesn't look anything like what we saw before. And like, if it was framed like that initially, it probably wouldn't be that big of an issue. But like, really was not at all what I was expecting, personally. So it just goes to show you, it's really important to set that tone properly right off the bat. Otherwise, people are going to expect that tone in the future. And when they don't get it, they're going to be disappointed. Even though the game hasn't changed, it's just their perception of the game has changed. But anyway, let's see what she has to say about new information. That kind of sets the stage for where we're at right now. A lot of people are at where they're not opposed to Avowed. They're just trying to figure out what it is, because it seems like there's conflicting messaging on what this game is actually going to present to people.
After the developer direct, we had you on the podcast, and I just got to make a call back. Like, that was received so well. Like, it was just great watching the comments and everyone like, this makes me want to play the game. And so kudos to you and the team. I'm curious from your perspective and the team's perspective, since then, what's been going on? Like, I'm sure as you get closer to release date, like a lot of things are coming into play. So tell us a bit about that time.
Yeah, it's a really exciting part of the development process because you've got so much that's so far along, you know, your content, your gameplay, your systems, and you're really just, you know, investing those final touches, that final layer of polish, like pushing everything to be as good as it possibly can, you know, trying to make smart decisions, not crazy ones. But yeah, it was great to see the reception after Developer Direct. One of the things that I know folks called out that we spent a lot of additional time on was refining that sense of hitting, which we're going to see some of in our footage today. So yeah, it's really just taking everything that's almost there and pushing it over the finish line and really getting to turn this into the game that we all on the team want to play as well.
Yeah, and I just want to build off of that a little bit, because we were talking about you before you all came. We were talking behind your back, but in a good
Only
way.
good things.
But like, I feel like, to your point, Obsidian has this je ne sais quoi, this, to use my little French that I know very little of.
It was that one statement, that was it.
Yeah, that's really all I know. But no, it's like this something special that you all have, where not only do you have the community aspect who love games, Grounded, Pentiment, all these great games, but also just the team, like the cohesiveness. I got to visit the studio a little bit late last year, and just walking through the office, it was very evident why your games always come together and are just so great. It's just because you have that cohesive unit. So it's great that time that you spent since then has been.
So I mean, when it's like, it's weird to have an official corporate podcast where it's like if Apple had a podcast where they're just like, this iPad product is the most stunning product of all the products that we've made. It's an incredible advancement in technology, and it's the best iPad we've ever made. Like, okay, I know, like, you feel that, but like, okay, you know, it's just always weirded me out, you know? Like, just get to the good stuff. Ask the questions. Ask the questions. Let's do this.
Use just like polishing the game, like you said, and making it awesome. So I'm excited to play a little bit later.
Oh yeah, me too. But before we jump into the deeper dive gameplay, do you want to just set up for us both what Avowed is, just in case anyone out there doesn't know, but also what we just saw at the Xbox Game Showcase with the new trailer?
Sure. So Avowed is an upcoming fantasy action RPG. For players who are familiar with the Pillars of Eternity games, this takes place in the same universe, but it is not a sequel. The style of gameplay is obviously very different. The cast of characters is mostly different, but we'll get to that. But yeah, it's basically just bringing our players to the world of Aora with a really immersive, action-forward, really fun, fresh take on the Pillars world. And from the trailer we just saw now, we've met a few of our key characters. So part of what we wanted to do with this trailer is really set up for the player the world you're stepping into and the role you're stepping into, and also the choice that's in front of you for how you want to inhabit and live out that role in the game. So the very first voice that we hear from at the beginning of the trailer is the Emperor of Adir, your boss, essentially. He's sending you to the living lands to get to the bottom of this soul plague called the Dream Scourge, find out what's causing it, and find a way to stop it. The next person we hear from is Inquisitor Ludwine, who I'm very excited to have playing such a big part in Avowed. Players from Deadfire might remember her as a side character in one of our very interesting side quests, but in Avowed, she's pretty central. And her whole belief is that the Dream Scourge is really just symptomatic of larger problems, a larger sense of chaos and disunity and destructiveness at the heart of the living lands. And in the world of Pillars of Eternity, souls and essence, which is the stuff of souls, it manifests physically. And so she might be onto something. And then the very last person we hear from is Giada, who's one of the companions that we'll meet in our journey. And she's taking a different perspective. She's saying this chaos is part of who we are. It's part of what makes the living lands special. Don't try to tame it. Don't try to end it. Embrace it and cherish it and kind of nurture and tend to it. So again, what that really sets up for the player is this is a big world. It's got adventure and danger, and it's also got a lot of choices to make. And it's going to be up to you to decide, you know, what it means to be the envoy of Adir in the living lands and what it means to set things right in this place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm tracking. I think as a premise that works, makes sense. It's open-ended. It's important for RPGs, especially when they're going to leave things very open-ended. It's very important to have a premise that's not overly restrictive. So like the age-old example I point to a lot is like Fallout 4. You don't want a premise like Fallout 4, because if you're taking the story of Fallout 4 seriously, you would never go out exploring the world, right? Which is like one of the key things that Fallout 4 is really good at. It's the open world adventuring. But if you're taking the story seriously, your son has been kidnapped. Your baby son has been kidnapped. And if you're role-playing it seriously, you would do anything and everything to find your son. And so you're going to do nothing other than trying to find him. Maybe when you discover that he's actually an old man now, maybe then you break and then you go and explore. But that's relatively further along in the story. And so you have to spend like a couple dozen hours working through the main story that isn't that great just to get to the point where then you can justify exploring, which isn't, in my view, the best way to do it. I think rather you want to open it up in a way where it's totally open-ended. You can do whatever you want. That's why something like Skyrim, how that game opens up, is way better, because it just opens up with you like, they say, hey, you can head over there. There's a village down there. You can speak to the blacksmith, or you can walk wherever, whatever, do whatever you want. And it's totally open. You can do whatever you want. They generally point you in the direction that you probably should go if you want to continue the main story. But if you want to just F off and do whatever you want, you can do that. And I think that that works way better in RPGs where you're trying to empower player freedom, right? I think that works way better. And so for this, it sounds like, okay, you're being tasked with a mission to cure the plague that is effectively haunting this land. But you also have companions and stuff that are maybe telling you, maybe we shouldn't mess with it. Presumably allowing you to just not mess with it at all and just kind of leave the main story on the sidelines, which is kind of cool.
So to your point, that kind of like obsidian formula, that
100%.
player choice, and some of that moral intrigue too. Like, what decisions are you going to make in a moment by moment?
Yeah, and I think that's what players, as you said, like that's what players really want. Like they want to feel like they have some agency. They are going to be able to interpret the story that you all build and kind of act on that. And so, but let's get into the gameplay, because just like a little bit after Developer Direct, you've brought some new gameplay for us to watch. And so let's check some of this out. Tell us a bit about what we're seeing here.
So we're going to start out in Emerald Stair, which is one of the regions you'll get to explore over the course of the game. We're not too far along, but we have here a lovely nighttime scene. I think this region is...
Okay, looking at this, I think this graphic, obviously there's like a very strong art style. They love their mushrooms, as you can tell. It's funny, a lot of games will have like a plant or a fungi or something that is the thing that they use everywhere, and in this game it seems to be mushrooms, which is just kind of funny. Some games recently it's been like purple crystals. They'll just put purple crystals everywhere, and once you see it you can never unsee it. In this game it seems to be mushrooms, which is fine. It's whatever. I don't care. It's funny. Once you notice it you can't unnotice it. But this looks pretty. It's not going to be like on the level of, say, Dragon Age Veilguard. It's not going to be on the same level as like probably Fable, which seems to really crank in the graphical dial. But graphics aren't everything, as we've heard. Graphics aren't everything.
in particular looks fantastic at night. Not
Very
only because,
stunning.
Yeah, thank you.
What did I tell you about mushrooms? Mushrooms, baby. Now they fight.
And here we have some sporlings attacking Yatsley, who is going to be one of our other companions.
And you were charging up like your bow and arrow there, and then you're also kind of trying to slice your way through what looks like some very thick top-heavy swirling armor here.
And you're right, we are struggling a little bit.
Yeah, they're giving you a run for your money here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this FOV is so tight. It's like giving me motion sickness just trying to look at it. One of the complaints they had before from the previous gameplay reveal that we pulled up a gameplay trailer from a year ago. One of the complaints from this trailer was that the slashing of weapons felt like it wasn't actually connecting. It felt like, you know, the slashes were just going through. Oh no, this isn't it. It was the actual clip of gameplay. Maybe from the direct that the dev direct that they did. Maybe it was this one. Yeah, people were complaining that it felt like the weapon slashes and stuff weren't actually connecting. It felt very lightweight and floaty. And it seems like they have done work in the last few months to actually improve that. They've actually made changes to make it so when you swing, it actually stops and has a little bit more resistance to it. You might be able to see here with the slash. Come on, slash that weapon. Come on. Yeah, like here you can kind of see the weapon just kind of glides past. It's a small note. It seems maybe they might have slightly overcompensated, because it seems like now, at least with these mushroom sporling dudes, it feels like you slam it, it's just like a club, even though it's a sword. But
we'll fix that. So
Okay.
part of the problem is we've just...
Real quick, thank you, Wolfers, or Wolf. The Wolf, thank you. I don't know where I got Wolfers. Thank you, The Wolf and G117 for subbing over on Twitch. Thank you, my friends. Appreciate you.
Transitioned out of an earlier region, and so we haven't upgraded our gear yet. So if we look like we're struggling against these little mushroom guys, it's because we haven't upgraded our weapons so that they're really up to par with the enemies we're going to face here. So there's a lot of hacking and whacking, but we'll fix that in short order.
Oh, fantastic. People, I was about to lose my wits.
This is what we call a furry test, where we get to keep a close eye on chat, and based on your reactions, we can do some cleanup. So everybody on your best behavior. Okay.
You wouldn't happen to have a ladder on hand, would you?
So this is still fairly early into the game too, the setting of Emerald Stair.
Yeah.
Nice. And then we have Yatsley.
Yeah, she's a wizard. She's very fun. She's a little risque in a way that I think makes her a lot of fun to talk to. She's got...
Okay, hold on. I want to look at this. So there's a symbol behind my fat face. Here we go. There's a symbol This looks like an aristocrat. Maybe it's like flirtatious. If you're trying to flatter me, it's working. And then there's a big bicep arm. It's true. You should touch my abdominal muscles. They ripple. So it seems like they've actually kept some of the funny dialogue from previous games they've done. That's good. I like to see that.
Got some very good banters with the other companions. But yeah, she's just a little lightning ball of a lot of personality.
And you see the options here, by the way. Also, one of the great things about your game is, of course, dialogue options. Tell us a little bit about how that's playing here.
So you noticed with a couple of those that we had a little symbol at the front of those options. So as this is an Obsidian game, some of the options available to you are dictated by choices you make at character creation, choices you make as you level up your character. So some of them are tied to specific attributes. Some of them are tied to specific backgrounds that you choose at the beginning of the game. And a lot of those will really, in different cases, either add some different flavor, personality, or possibly a different outcome to that conversation. Here we're really getting to know her as a character, and so, we're just kind of choosing the tonal direction of this conversation.
Yeah,
she's a little,
She says you're tall, striking, and well-toned.
It is like she's flirting with us.
She is.
What would happen if we pass the conversation check for the flirtation option, which I assume is this first one?
Yeah. Well, you'll have to see in a bit, but yeah, if you flirt with Yahtzee, she will flirt back.
She seems like a flirtatious type.
If you keep encouraging her, she's going to climb you.
Careful, darling. I already have a lover. A good.
Okay, she sounds like Miss McGonagall or whatever from Harry Potter, and now I'm never going to be able to unhear it. Just imagining her as like a furry... I don't even know what animal this is inspired by, but I can never unhear it.
One, skilled with his hands. He always carries a ladder.
She rebuked me.
Oh no. Well, you know what? Maybe keep trying. But
dialogue
no.
check.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, like visually speaking, like I think this is the first time you all are also showing like gameplay at night, right?
Yeah, so we do have a dynamic time of day, and
okay.
our
I didn't think I knew
environments.
that. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, have some very lovely looks at different times of day. We've definitely shown a lot of daytime footage. We've shown some golden hour footage, but again, Emerald Stair looks really stunning at night.
Yeah.
It's very colorful, very lush. We've got all the fungi, and then one thing we're going to see as we come over the hill here is all of this equipment that the animancers of the town of Fior have made, and so animancing.
Go back and show the city.
In the world of Pillars of Eternity is basically soul science. It's about studying and manipulating the world of Pillars of Eternity. Animancers.
Like that city shot is that's the money shot right there. You gotta show that. That's epic. Don't cut away. Like that looks really good. That looks really good. Whenever you see one of these vista shots, it's important to be able to identify little points of interest. Like you can see the lighthouse. It's like, okay, I want to go there. That gives you a destination to keep in your mind. There's also this like statue over here or something. There's these houses with lights on them leading down these pathways. Each of these things is sort of welcoming the player to them. And you won't even necessarily consciously recognize that you're logging that away in your head that you want to go there. You might actually say, oh, I want to go to the lighthouse. But these other little things that you spot are very important. Like they got to frame those the right way. And so this is beautiful. I love this.
Animancers of the town of Fior have made. And so animancy in the world of Pillars of Eternity is basically soul science. It's about studying and manipulating the essence.
Oh, also, Ilar, thank you for subbing with tier 1 over on Twitch as well. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. And also for the 100 bits. Thank you, my friend.
That makes up souls and the essence that is ambient in the ether.
Quite controversial in the world.
Yes, it is, which is something we get into in this region. But yeah, so this is a little enclave of animancers who are kind of free to study, outside of the, the watchful eye of any larger authority here in the Living Lands. But yeah, what it means aesthetically is they have this really lovely equipment with this wonderful purple glow that just looks great at this time of evening.
Yeah, 100%.
And so they are also impacted by the dream scourge as well.
They are, yes. Mm-hmm. They've discovered something wrong in the ether, and you're coming here to sort of see what the animancers have figured out.
All right, and now I'm looking at this. It looks like we're heading into the party camp. Can you tell us a little bit about what this area is and its significance for the player?
Yeah, so party camp is one of my favorite spaces in the game. It's both your narrative hub and also your upgrade hub. We can see here, I'll just
Third
call
person,
out.
yeah.
Yes, we do have third person. A lot of the footage we're going to see today is in first person, but we do have a third person option for players who prefer it. But yeah, in Party Camp, that's where you'll get to know your companions better. You can kind of get to know their backstories and sort of, get to know them better as individuals. You can also hear them getting to know one another through their banters at camp, which is always super fun to eavesdrop on. And it's also where we can upgrade our gear.
Okay, physical damage, stuns, stamina costs, crit chance, and then different upgrades. 3 tiers of each: common, fine, exceptional, legendary. Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty robust in terms of gear.
So we've got our party stash where we can stow a lot of extra equipment. We've got our upgrade screens. And here's where we're taking some of our older gear that we picked up in the previous region, and we're going to upgrade it so that we're better equipped to fight the enemies here.
Yeah, Sporlings.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we're coming back.
Oh,
And
yeah.
We're gonna be way better. But I want to touch back on what you said around the banter around with your companions. I've always found that like in those kind of camp areas and in games just in general, like that's where I love.
Yeah.
And I love that you all are including banter between the other companions because that makes it feel more alive. Like you're just listening to the banter. But is there conflict between some of the companions?
They have
their
different
dynamics?
takes on the Dream Scourge and like what you should do with it. Yeah.
Exactly. So what can we expect to hear when we're listening, eavesdropping in on the banter?
So you'll hear a lot of different things. One thing we really wanted to create with Party Camp was this sense that, you're adventuring and exploring together through this big wilderness, all of these different landscapes. And Party Camp is this quiet space where you can all kind of huddle together, share a moment of respite. And, the pace and the tone of everything is a lot slower and quieter.
Kind of like Baldur's Gate. I like that. That's good.
So some of the banter is going to be kind of quirky and fun as these characters get to know each other and kind of dig into their different personalities, their different eccentricities. Some of it's going to be a little more somber as they, kind of reflect on different events that y'all have seen, different things y'all have gone through together. And then, yes, as you get to harder decisions in the game, there are going to be moments of conflict where they disagree on what the right course forward is, or they disagree on maybe actions that you've taken up to this point, and they're kind of hashing it out with one another. So it's really just where these characters get to come to life a lot more.
So you're going to be judged the whole time.
Good.
No,
Because I'm a controversial king. We're going to be picking some controversial decisions, so I love to see that.
I love that kind of banter too, because I know in my heart the decisions I want to make, but absolutely the more connected I get to certain companions or characters, they can totally influence by their judgment, their cool judgment. Yeah, so I'll sometimes, start to actually take that into account. I love the party camp moments, sitting by a campfire, and certainly getting stronger.
Yeah.
Which my understanding is we're picking up some, not just upgrading some of our weapons, but also picking up some new skills, which you can do.
Attributes. So might, constitution, dex, perception, intelligence, and resolve. Okay. Pretty standard. Nothing crazy or weird. Different carry weight, scaling, poison and bleed resistances, crit hit chance. Ooh, crits are tied to perception. Interesting. Okay. So there's some interesting little things going on there. And then this is background selection nobles. So that's what they chose. That's what that symbol was for.
In this party camp kind of downtime too.
Yeah, so you can upgrade your skills and abilities anywhere as you level up throughout the course of the game. That's one of the things we're doing right now. So on certain level up milestones, we'll get to upgrade our attributes, which we just did. And on every level up milestone, we'll get to pick a new ability. So in this playthrough, it seems like we've got a couple points sitting in reserve. So we're spending these on different abilities in our different trees. And one of the really fun things about the way these are set up is you can really mix and match freely between them. So if you want to be all wizard, you can, build entirely throughout that skill tree. If you want to mix and match, make a battle mage, or make, someone who can be a little stealthy in certain moments and a little more aggressive in others, you have a lot of freedom to do that.
Sounds like me. I like that one. I'll
Yeah.
take that one.
Yeah.
So we've seen a lot of Tanglefoot in previous trailers, and I think we just unlocked Fan of Flames, which will help us get through these brambles, right? So we're not only stronger, but now we can actually progress in the environment in Emerald Stair with a little bit more skills at our hands.
Yeah, we wanted to try to, as much as possible.
So some Metroidvania elements as well. That's cool. I like that. Shake it up a little. Thank you. Oh, geez, Iolaire, thank you. Just gifted 5 subs over on Twitch. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, Asymmetrical, Castro, Sean, Brett, And Nyx, welcome to the Red Flag Army. Bum, bum,
Will give the different abilities that players can pick up. You know, obviously solutions in combat, but also solutions in exploration. And so, you know, there's almost always more than one way through a particular barrier, but you'll have, you know, weapons, your own abilities, spells, weapon enchantments, sometimes even your companions who can, you know, use their environmental abilities to help you get through barriers like that as you build the character you want to play.
Yeah, and I just want to remind everybody, like, Obsidian, they specialize in RPGs. So, as an action-adventure game, I wouldn't expect this to be, like, that stunning. I just personally wouldn't expect it. But, as an RPG, that's probably where it excels and where it's at its best. And, you know, you can run into some trouble when you're trying to compare it to other things. Like, I get the impression, after seeing an hour of it, I get the impression that, like, Dragon Age, the Veilguard is probably more action adventure than it is RPG. They've said a lot, no, it's RPG, it's super, super deep, and they said it's way more deep than Mass Effect, I believe is what they said. Like, they've really tried to stress that. We'll see. From what I saw behind closed doors, it looked more action adventure to me, which isn't a bad thing, but it's just different, right?
Now a member.
Thank you.
Takes on Stalker 2 managed to get me even more excited as a fan of the originals. It'll probably review poorly, but the fans will love it.
Yeah, and as long as people enjoy it, that's really, well, and as long as fans enjoy it and it is financially successful, that's all that matters. You know, if fans love it, but it's a flop, that probably isn't great for the fans in the long term, or the devs. But I hope people do enjoy it. It's just, like, I think some people were upset that I was saying that it was probably the weakest demo that we saw. But that's just is what it is. There's games that also have bad demos that end up being pretty good, and the demo was just bad. So, you know, it's just, I'm going to tell you guys what my honest experience was. And if that makes you more excited for the game, cool. Other people thought I was trying to dog on the game or something. I'm like, no, I'm just telling you what it was like. I just think it was a bad demo. But let's see. And 16 months. Thank you, my friend. That's crazy. 16 months. Gee whiz. Gee whiz. Golly. Watched a lot of your YouTube videos and just wanted to show my appreciation for that. Thank you, Iolair. Thank you. Thank you. And that's very, very generous. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Okay. Golly, gee whiz indeed.
Okay, so now that we're coming out of the camp, we've upgraded our equipment, we've upgraded our swords, so theoretically these guys should be easier now.
Oh, way better. Okay. So, rewind the clocks. Maybe Jacob, for the live stream clip, you can put in on that previous clip. You're like, this, Luke's gonna walk this back in 5 minutes or whatever, because this, I can see now what she was trying to say. She was trying to say, like, the reason that there's such a hard kind of stop on the slash animation is because the weapon wasn't properly scaled. Okay, that makes sense. Now that the weapon's scaled and it's a high enough level, it's actually slashing, it seems. Okay, that makes sense. Because before I was like, it looks like when you're playing Elden Ring and you're trying to use a weapon that you're not proficient in, you know, it's like, you know, you're trying to take a swing with a great hammer that requires 40 strength and you've got 12. It's just not working. That, you know, this makes sense. It checks out. Oh, the Lord is with us. The Lord is with us. Thank you. 7 months.
Chat is now a member. After this game, can we chat about Fable for a bit and your thoughts? I'm dumb hyped about it. I grew up on Fable.
Yeah. No, I can totally check that out. Yeah.
Yes, and you'll notice it's taking fewer hits to bring him down. Yep, they
Get
go
outta here.
flying.
Look at him. He barely stood a chance.
Yes, we've got some nice blood effects as we're slicing through them.
Yeah, so is that like new animation as well? New sound effects and animation as you're kind of upgrading your swords and other items?
Yeah, we want to make sure that players are getting clear feedback as to when their gear is effective and when maybe they need to go back to camp. So it looks, it feels, it sounds different when you're playing with appropriately leveled gear.
And this guy...
That actually makes sense, because you want to make sure that people aren't accidentally playing for hours with stuff that is way below where it should be. Like, look at this. Even this Vista is great.
It's a little different looking. What's his deal?
Little spikes.
So this is a caster. So, all of our enemy families will have different unit types among them. And we've seen a lot of these little melee spoilings who just run at us. And it's very cute, actually. It's one of our favorite little animations on the team. But you also have these caster units that can obviously attack you from a distance, do quite a bit more damage. And we have a few other unit types who we haven't met yet, but we're going to try to take this guy out because he's a little more dangerous than the small guys.
Yeah, taking a few more hits than them.
So when you build up enough stun on an enemy, you can kind of queue up an attack like that does a lot of extra damage and will also, if it doesn't take them out outright, it'll at least give you some distance from them. So those are great to get if you can.
Nice, and a little bit more traversal here, which I love to see. Adds that verticality that we love, that allows players to, I guess, discover new things in the game and maybe some hidden things.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a very fun mechanic to be able to build content around because, like you said, you can really reward your curious players by hiding a lot of secrets, a lot of fun, a lot of storytelling and nooks and crannies throughout the levels.
And we did just pick up that godless vase, so
Yes.
we've got our item that Yatzli's been asking us for.
Yes.
So can you remind us too, as we're looks like we're approaching her now, actually. So what we're kind of exchanging here?
Yeah, so Yatzli is a scholar of the godless, and the godless are the ancient people who used to inhabit the living lands. They have been gone for many, 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 many years, but we see their ruins throughout the different regions of the living lands. So Yatzli studies them. They are called the godless because they are not recognized as worshipping in their art any of the gods of Eora that people know of. So she wanted this artifact as, part of her studies. So even without a ladder, we were able to fetch it for her.
Oh, and we just saw a quick flash of ourselves, actually. And we are, actually, if you could explain too, because we are a godlike.
Yes.
We are almost the opposite of Yatzli in that way.
Yes.
So what does that mean in the world of like the universe in general and why we look the way that we look here?
Sure. So
when you don't exfoliate, there's a buildup of oils and things, and then you look like this.
in the world of Pillars of Eternity, a godlike is a member of any Kith species whose soul has been touched in some way by one of the gods. You can play as a godlike in Pillars 1 or Deadfire. In Avowed, you are definitely a godlike. And being a godlike will manifest in a number of different ways, but one of them is you usually have a unique physical appearance that manifests in some way on your face and or head. Now with Avowed, you can choose exactly what that manifestation looks like. This lichen-like growth is one of your options, but you will have some that are a lot bigger and more dramatic, and you'll also have some that are a lot subtler. But either way,
I like that there are options because this one looks mad stupid.
you have a connection.
So I'm glad there's more options that are more subtle. Either go for it and have like a full cowl of spore-like stuff, just look like a straight up like clicker from The Last of Us. Go for that, or just like do a little beauty mark. Do it that way. And then Mac, well, hold on. The font's small. Mac Tie Guy, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Appreciate you.
To one of the gods, the thing that's unique about you is you don't know which one. And most godlikes of Eora, it's very well known, which god they share a lineage with. For you, it is a mystery, and that's one of the things you'll get to explore in your journey through Avowed.
Yeah, and I love the customization because I think just generally speaking, people love to customize the character they want. So maybe again, like you go a little bit more obvious here, or maybe you go a little subtle.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to see like players or not players, but like other people in the world like reacting to sort of your godlike appearance?
You will, because it is very unique, and there aren't many godlikes left in the world of Eora. So you're doubly unique in this case.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
I'm going to be showing it out and be like, yeah I'm a godlike. All right. So treat me as such.
Mm-hmm. Well, so some people think that's very cool. Some people think it's very spooky. So, different cultures and individuals have different ways of relating to godlike. So you might get you'll get a number of reactions.
And that's the thing is that godlike.
Just walking into town, they see that character's face. Ew! Gross! Stinky! Get away! Gross! I hope we see somebody like that. That's what I want.
are quite rare, so they
Yes.
are kind of intrigued by it when they see you and they recognize that you are different.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Now Yatsley is sending us somewhere else, right?
So we've gotten her vase. She's going to return to her studies. She will join our party at some point, but not
okay.
right away.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a quest that takes place along the Crit Path and Emerald Stair. So you can tell we're still in the same overall region. So we're working with one of the animancers in the town of Fior, and he's going to help us He's going to try to help us diagnose what's going on with the living lands. But in order to do that, he needs the heart of an Odragon, and an Odragon is essentially a nymph with sort of the skin and appearance of Audra, and he needs the heart for the essence that it contains. So he's sent us into this glade to go retrieve this heart. This glade is inhabited by a bunch of Delamgon who, as you can see, are a lot more dangerous and a lot more aggressive than the Spoilings we encountered. Delamgon in the World of Pillars are fairly territorial, so we're kind of bringing this on ourselves. He did warn us that they wouldn't take kindly to us just marching through their territory, and we might have an easier time of it if we can avoid conflict, but conflict's also fun, so in this case, we're just, swinging our sword and going on in.
And you're right about them being a little bit harder to take down. We are definitely having to utilize everything.
I'm sorry. It's stupid. He's like, yeah, you're right about that. Wouldn't it be so funny if she was wrong? Like if he's telling the game director, well, you're wrong about that. This looks horrible. I know it's funny. It's like when a guy is revealing their new product for Apple or something. And it's like, it's the best iPhone we've ever made. Like, yeah, I'd hope so. It's new. Better be. Like, duh.
Thing in our arsenal here to take them down.
Yes. And you're seeing a few different unit types here. We've also got casters. These have some very long kind of whippy arms that they can get us at a medium distance with and a little area of effect attack. But they do eventually go down. But like you said, it takes more work.
Yeah. Now we're approaching what I'm assuming is a very special character. Can you tell us a little bit about?
Yeah, so this is the Delamgon Queen. She has the Odragon heart, and I'm sure she'll be super cool with how we just mowed through her followers. What could go wrong?
We had to do what we had to do, right?
Yeah,
but
hopefully
She's queen of no one now.
That's right. We'll take everyone out, right? Oh, let's see what she says.
But wait, no.
Yep, she can sense what we've done, and she's not happy about it.
So many of my kin are dead by your hand. The time for words has...
Can you get to her without killing any of her kin? And will that change the options? Or do you have to kill her kin to get to her? In which case, it's not really an option.
It's a good thing we like fighting because we're going to fight some more now.
Yeah.
Yep. Hello.
The backup forces have arrived, and now we're in trouble. But we're going to leave that a little mystery, right? I'm assuming.
Yes,
I don't want to give
yes.
everything away. So what are we looking at here? This is us kind of respecing kind of how our character plays, right?
Yes. So if you find that you want to try out a new suite of abilities, if you want to approach a particular piece of content like this one in a different way, you can respec. And you might have seen popping up at the beginning of the screen here, there is a cost to doing so, but if you're willing to pay it, you can try out a whole new set of abilities. So what we're doing now is we're speccing into a lot of ranger related abilities, and I think a couple wizard ones as well. So the most important one of these is Shadowing Beyond, which is a level 5 ranger ability. And what that does is it gives us the ability to essentially kind of open up a rift in the here, which is the physical world, and travel through the beyond, which is kind of the invisible spiritual world, in order to move through the environment.
Sweet.
So what this means is that as long as we don't engage them, these characters can't see us. And as long as we keep our essence meter up, this ability will remain active. So this one is constantly draining our essence, which is the soul energy that we use to power our special abilities and our spells. You can see we're passing some cover grass as well, so if we wanted to be a little more conservative with our power usage, we could duck into that grass, kind of watch the patrols, and avoid using this ability quite as much. But in this case, we're going to use it to get to this little safe nook right here.
So if you're an expert stealther, you could possibly do this section in stealth without that ability.
Just
if
with
you're
the
good,
grass,
just
sneak it
cover
around.
the grass.
Challenge accepted, right?
Yeah. Here we're re-upping on our potions so that we can build
Health
up
and
that
essence.
essence. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, we're going to continue. And we've also found a little side route here. So again, we like to offer different ways for players to approach our content, especially big potential fights like the one kind of in the glade here. So this is a little side path that you can see still has some enemies in it, but for a player who's very careful and either willing to use that cover grass or willing and able to use Shadowing Beyond, they can get through without causing a ruckus.
So if you fight this Sporling, will the others be alerted to it, or could you get away with like one kill and then?
It depends how close they are. So they do have a shout radius, but it is not infinite. So if there isn't anyone close by, and if you're pretty fast, you might be able to get away.
Yeah,
but
like
you can
that.
see there's one right there. So
you never know who's hiding in a little nook.
Right?
Exactly.
I'll kick that one off the cliff. Probably. It's like, get out of here. But I'm excited to see players how they tackle it, because I'm sure there are going to be people who decide not to use the essence at all and like really like want to show their mastery of that stealth aspect. And so here we are heading.
It's always a trade-off, right?
It
You
is.
know, do you want to loot all the dead bodies, or
Right.
do you want to take the
That's a good
peaceful
point.
path and possibly open up some other dialogue options, which tends to be how I play.
Ah, a welcome visitor.
Love it.
It has been so long since one of your kind has walked in this grove.
In this case, the Dalamgon Queen has recognized that we haven't killed all of her followers. And so there's a little more of an opportunity to talk with her. She recognizes that we are godlike. She might even recognize what kind of godlike we are. But yeah, in this case, she will give us the heart willingly, and she'll allow us to leave the glade peacefully, because we chose.
And she's quite an ancient being, so there's a lot that she knows. You mentioned that, she might even know where we come from.
She might, yeah. Of course, the thing is, Dalamgon they're, like you said, they're very ancient. They're not really part of Kith society, so it's hard to get too many straight answers out of them sometimes.
Yeah, there's some vagaries in there, but enough
Yeah.
to kind of pique our interest.
But then she gave you the heart and she said, take it.
I'm sorry that. Sorry, the design of the cordyceps fungus on your face is just. I'm glad you can change it. I'm glad you can pick your own, because that would tear me out every time I would see my character looking like that.
But then she gave you the heart and she said, take it and go in peace.
Yeah,
And there you go.
We came in peace and we left in peace.
Boom.
I know, right? Like a game developer that actually answered the question that like was naturally coming out of the gameplay they were showing. But like that's what you'd expect from an RPG, is the option to do things in different ways and then to be rewarded differently based on what you do. I love that.
Look at that.
Peace. Rules. Sometimes.
Well, I think that's all the gameplay that you and the team brought out here today. Thank you again so much. It's been so insightful and such a fun opportunity to walk through it all step by step with you.
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about it a little bit after the developer direct, but like the trailers that you all make are always so great. But then getting to like talk to you and see what the team has built and deliver especially for the Xbox podcast is always great to see, and dive deeper into those details, dialogue options, how you tackle a game. Like all those things are so important for us to see, like how we're going to be playing the game
Yeah,
when it
so
releases.
much detail and intricacies. But
Yeah.
is there anything else that you want to leave the audience off with before we sign off on this episode?
Well, really excited for players to experience this game for themselves. Again, the team's been working really hard to just really put the rest of the experience together, get it all polished, get it across the finish line, and we're all really stoked to see how players fill that player-shaped hole at the middle of our game, and what kind of role they choose for their envoy, and how they choose to solve the conundrums in the Living Lands.
Us too.
Pretty solid demonstration. Like, again, my stance with the game is that I am not expecting it to be like, quite on the AAA level. Obsidian's recent stuff has been more AA in my view. Like, the production value is not off the charts, but it's solid. And, you're not playing Obsidian's games for the crazy high budget production value stuff. You're playing it for the role playing, for the depth of systems, and that's where they tend to excel anyways. So their games aren't going to be for everybody, but those who like their really deep and interesting role-playing systems are going to probably have a good time, because it seems like there's a lot of different layers to it. I mean, you can see different things based on how this character is currently spec'd out, and then also based on backstory selections. There's different dialogue and potentially outcomes that could be found. And then even with something as simple as go to this character and ask for this item, You can either go and take it by force, or you can stealth your way around and then get it more easily. And there's different things where that will change your relationship with that character. Maybe that comes up again later in the story. There's all sorts of interesting things that come from it. I think that this showcase does a better job from the last one of showing what you can kind of expect in moment-to-moment gameplay. So I like that. I still think they're digging themselves out of a hole they didn't need to put themselves in with that initial trailer that set the tone kind of differently. Because you look back at this other footage they showed earlier this year, and this footage just comes off very different from that initial announcement trailer. Again, not necessarily bad. Like it's not like you look at this and like, well, that game's going to be terrible. Nothing like that. It's just very different from what people expected. But I'm expecting probably like, you know, your typical Obsidian AA in scope RPG, and you're gonna have a good time with it. Not for everybody, but it'll probably be like B plus if I had to predict a Metacritic score at this point. But still that can do enough. That can be good. That can be good. B's still get good degrees, as they say. I think they say that. Okay. What was the other one you guys wanted to touch? Oh, Fable. You wanted to touch on Fable. Oh, Fable. Fable. Little old Mabel. How mysterious.
Hero of the moment.
Pose that. Okay. We can touch on this. No, it's D's get degrees. D's nuts. You heard me. Got him. Now ban him. I'm kidding. Don't ban him. It's on thin ice, though. Oh, goodness me. Okay, let's do this. News segment. What do all of you guys think of the latest Fable reveal that they did at the Xbox showcase? From what I can tell, people are generally more positive about it than they have been about previous trailers they've dropped for the game. The first trailer, well, I guess it's the second trailer, because the first one was with that frog. The second trailer was the one with Richard Ayoade, I want to say, from IT Crowd. And then this is like the third one that they've done. And it's interesting because they're doing this like kind of Office inspired interview, documentarian kind of irreverent humor trailer. And I really like it. It's different from what we've seen. Highlights the characters you're going to see in the game. And I just find it entertaining. I love this kind of thing. That being said, it seems like people's initial frustration is they felt that the player character was intentionally ugly or something in the first or again second trailer that they did. I don't know. I didn't think it was. I think the lighting was just really bad in that trailer. Like it was always dark and just gritty. But I was like, it probably doesn't matter because it's probably gonna have a character creator. This trailer seems to suggest there will not be a character creator though, which is bold because Fable has that. So there's that. But we'll get to that. All told, I'm like, if you're not going to play this game because you don't like the look of the protagonist or you don't find her attractive enough, I think the problem's with you. I think that's a really stupid reason not to play a game, frankly. Like if the game is really, really good, the game's really, really good. Like it might be difficult to bring yourself to play the game if the protagonist isn't to your liking. If you're that, frankly, like shallow, I guess would be the term. But frankly, like a good game is good, and that's all I'm really looking for. Like if the protagonist is not the hottest, it's not the end of the world, frankly. And if that's where you draw the line, okay. I personally think you'll miss out on some good games, but like there's that. Like Kratos, Daddy Kratos, he's a good-looking dude, right? Good-looking dude. If his teeth were a little screwed up, maybe he had like a little bit of a jaw, would that be the end of the world? I don't think so. I think the game would still be very, very good. This whole thing reminds me of what I forget who exactly, it was one of the executives over at Warner Brothers Discovery, where where it was with Hogwarts Legacy, and like some media person asked them, what are you going to do about Hogwarts Legacy? And all the people calling for boycotts because of J.K. Rowling and all the stuff she said. And the head honcho over at Warner Brothers was like, yeah, we feel that this is a very online issue, is the exact words that he said. It was like, yeah, I think like the average person that's going into the store and is like playing these games, like they probably don't care that much. It's like something people might freak out about on Reddit or Twitter/X, but in the real world, I don't think that many people really care about it. But anyway, with the trailer, they show a lot of interesting little set pieces. These things, the game looks freakishly good. Like this appears to be a gameplay shot of the character actually walking. And what they say at the top of the trailer, in-game footage, not in-engine, in-game. So if that's the case, if this is what the game actually looks like when you're playing it, man, this is outrageous. Like, just look at it.
It's like a fan club, but we hate you.
Your chances and the occasional giant toad for some reason. But it's more than that. It's about the choices you make.
I'm a hero. I should do what I want. You thought you could save her?
You know, it's your life and death stuff. That's what
Digital Foundry said it's in game too. Yeah, I mean, it looks outrageously good. Now, on the podcast earlier today, Joe Raptor said something that I thought, caught it flagged something for me, where he said it feels like there might be something that they're keeping back, like something that's being hidden, because he's like, we've seen this a few times and we haven't really seen just gameplay. It's always like little snippets in a story trailer, but that like you can kind of look and that's probably gameplay. But we haven't just seen like a fight. We haven't just seen a dialogue encounter. We haven't seen any of that stuff. And I think at this point in the marketing cycle, they're probably just trying to establish the tone, and then they'll do that, like those types of reveals later, because they presumably have plenty of time for this. I mean, when did they say? They just said 2025. It's totally open-ended. So next year at some point we'll get this. So they have plenty of time to do like a gameplay reveal. But I do think that that would quell a lot of concerns if they just showed what the gameplay actually looks like. Yeah, but Luke, if that was real gameplay, why not show it off for literally longer than 1 second? This feels odd. Well, because it's a narrative trailer. Like they're using in-game footage for a narrative trailer. Like Red Dead, I'm gonna have to do this in like small snippets, because Red Dead 2 trailer. Because last time I played this all the way through, Rockstar copyright claimed it, because they copyright claim trailers occasionally, which is ridiculous because these are all cutscenes and stuff from the game. But like even these are all in-game shots. And there's even shots of like little gameplay bits where, you might see them riding on the horse or going in and fighting somebody, or like there was that one shot rolling out of the bar into the mud. Like there's a lot of things where they'll show segments from in the game that then they just cut into a trailer. And it works. It works because it's a narrative trailer, but they're using in-game footage. That's cool. I don't have a problem with that. And the thing is, like, they have still probably, honestly, let's be real, probably over a year. I don't think this is coming in the first half of 2025. If it were, I think they would have said that. So I'm guessing later next year. And if that's the case, they have plenty of time to show actual like gameplay. I think, sometimes we can maybe forget how long like a year and a half is, But Yeah, it's kind of like using B-roll. Yeah.
I knew this one hero. I took her in.
So like, listen to this dialogue. This is in-game. Where he's delivering a line. This is why, part of why people think that there's probably no character creator.
I knew this one hero.
I'll put subtitles on. I knew this one hero.
I took her in when she had nowhere else to go. Welcome to the most exclusive club in all of Albion. Thought I'd get her out there, make the most of her gift. But you know what it's like when you're young and you have a point to prove. I tell you, this kid, she had it all. The skill, the talent, the power. She was something else, all right. She was terrifying. So, yeah, I knew this girl once who made all the wrong choices.
Humphrey. She's back.
I'm going to fix it, this place. And no one is going to stand in my way.
Okay. So people heard that and they're like, hey, there's a lot of like specific dialogue referring to her. She did this and all that. And so people are like, well, if I have full creative control of the character, did they just record that line twice and redo the animation depending on what you choose? Maybe. That could be the case, or it's just a pre-assigned player character, and that's that. I don't really care that much either way, personally. If the game is good, the game is good. I just personally don't really care. They could do something where it's like almost like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Sort of spoilers for that game coming up here in a second, where you get the option between Cassandra and Alexios, right? And if you pick one, like say you pick Cassandra, Alexios is still in the game, but is elsewhere, and you'll encounter him later in the story. So this could be the fact that they have hero and then rival hero as the subtitled.
She's back.
Like,
Humphrey.
So you see hero, Humphrey.
She's back.
She's back. Voldemort's back. Oh, God. And then rival hero. So maybe it's just whichever one you don't choose. So if you choose, like, but even that, then they're both female. So then is it just you are going to play a female character? I don't know. Nobody really knows at this point as far as I can tell. She's back. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My son Lachlan finds that line very funny. I don't know why, but whenever I want to make him laugh, I just go, "Oh no, he's back! Voldemort's back!" And then he just starts laughing like crazy, which is just funny. So anyway, with all this, if like the game from all these different perspectives, I think looks solid. I mean, production value is off the charts. And I mean, it seems like they've really cranked a lot of these dials. And this seems to be actual like footage of an encounter where if the camera normally is this far back, you pop an ability. With these, typically they turn off the HUD. So they just get cleaner footage. But you can see the ability pulls them up. And then she fires an arrow. So maybe this is a broader ability that you can use. Or this one where she's actually kicking out his leg and then swings around. You shouldn't grab the blade like that. That's a recipe for disaster. She's not even wearing gloves. Like, who's going to tell her that's not how swords work? Like, at all. Like, that is not how swords work. Like, and why do it like that? You were holding the sword correctly. You were holding it right. I know maybe she didn't want to kill him, but still, you grabbed the metal blade and then hit him with the sharp point, not the sharpest point to be fair, but like the sharp edge of the hilt of your sword, that could still kill a dude. that could still do pretty bad. Shouldn't do that. And then your hands, you're going to cut off your fingers. Unless it's like the world's dullest blade. It's just funny. Like, that was cool. I'll give her that. That was cool. She grabs, like, catches something. Hold on. Yeah, look at this. I'll have you know, I watched a Mythbusters episode. You can't actually do this. It's humanly impossible to catch, like, a full speed arrow like that. It just doesn't really work. Your hand can't close fast enough. There's ways you can do it, like, if you do it tons of times and it's going slower than a fully strung arrow and stuff. But, like, I've seen the Mythbusters episode. Okay. X to doubt. But you're right. That damn punk, you're right. It's a game. With all these things, it is a game. And, like, it's a game where we're fighting trolls. If you're going to, with so many of these little things, it can sometimes feel like people are just looking for reasons to be pissed off. And that's a frustration of mine, because sometimes, like, when a bad game comes along, there's reasons not to play it. There's things you can point to where you're like, hey, the price to gameplay time proposition is super poor, or the content super repetitive, or it's buggy and broken and the writing is horrible and all this. But sometimes it can just feel like people are looking for reasons to be pissed off, and, like, not wanting to play the game because the character isn't attractive enough is, to me, kind of a silly reason. If it's because the quality of NPCs or quality of animation or graphics is really poor, okay, that is a broader thing. But just to be upset about, like, a character's design is not a super valid point to bring, in my view. But, like, this trailer looks really solid, just across the board as far as I can tell. Of course, when we get actual gameplay, I think there will be a lot more to work with. But based on these trailers, I think it's perfectly reasonable, as, like, a fan of Fable games, to be cautiously optimistic. It seems like they've been cooking, and we'll see how it plays out as time goes by. But now they've had a couple of trailers with some really impressive visuals that have actually improved year over year. The trailer for Fable that they dropped last year, if you look at this one, you can see kind of similar tone and vibe. And they show some similar segments of, like bigger set pieces. Graphics are good, but it feels like they've actually improved the skin renderings and the subsurface scattering even more since last year's reveal. And then these big set piece things, like the fight against the giant. Like, this is just cool. Fighting a giant in his house. It was cool in Ragnarok, and it's cool here. I like it. I love big set piece stuff. So it seems to only be getting better with time. What games get a pass for having low graphical fidelity? I think if you're an indie game and the price point is lower, the standards drop. If the price drops in general, the standards drop, as they probably should. Like, if you're paying $10 for a game, you shouldn't expect to get $70 quality or quadruple A quality, right? Like, it kind of changes it. A giant with modern day glasses. You're right. We should cancel the game. We should cancel it right now. They're also talking into an imaginary camera. Cameras don't exist in this world. Get rid of it. Yeah, I just don't like playing as a female character. It makes the game less immersive for me. So that one, Max, that, if it's just a matter of immersion and you struggle to connect with a female playable character, that's something I've heard from females talking about male characters. My wife was even saying that she didn't want to play The Witcher 3 for the longest time because she couldn't make a character that looked like her. She didn't want to do it. Eventually the show came out and she was like, okay, I'll try it. And she ended up loving it. But if that's just honestly a thing that is difficult, for you, or that just makes it so you can't connect with the game, I think that that's fine. You know, I think the difference is if some game is not connecting with somebody, that's totally fine. Like, nobody's gonna, I hope nobody's gonna give you crap if you're like, it's just not for me. Like there are people, Baldur's Gate 3, just not for them. Witcher 3, not for them. Red Dead 2, just not for them. It's too slow. There's people like that just it doesn't connect with them. Like it's not for them. And that's okay. That's okay. My point is that you shouldn't then go and then tell everybody else how they should feel because a game isn't for you, that therefore it's bad. And that's not a given. Sometimes games are just bad. Sometimes games are not for you, but they still could be for other people and good for other people. Like I may really struggle with Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 6. We got, like, it was at the Capcom booth. We got to try the new characters or character, whatever, that they announced during SGF. And like, I'm terrible at fighting games. I'm god awful. I'm awful at them, and I could work to get better at them, but I've never really been that into it because I'm not very good at them. So it's just a circle. I don't work hard at getting better at them because I'm not into them, and I'm not into them because I'm not very good at them, and I'm not very good at them because I've never gotten into them to put more time in to get better at them. And so it just spins and spins and spins. So it's just not for me. But does that mean that Street Fighter 6 is a bad game? No. Street Fighter 6, as far as I can tell, is a really good game. Same with Tekken. Like, those fighting games are great games. It's just not for me. But I can still appreciate that they're for other people, and other people can really, really enjoy them. Luke, you should have Low Tier God as your fighting game mentor. Oh, God. Oh, Low Tier God. Okay, so if I say Red Dead is bad, that's fine. There's a difference between a game not being for you and a game being bad. For me, when I hear bad, I hear that as, okay, you are saying that this game, we can quantify things that are bad about it and then demonstrate that it is bad. If you're saying that you just don't enjoy it, or that it's too slow paced for me or something like that, okay. It's kind of like trying to evaluate with games. It's sort of a mixture. Like if you compare it to music, like there are certain things, or even film, there are certain things that are quantifiable where you can say this is a poorly produced film. If this film was shot poorly and all the shots are out of focus and the color grading is awful and the special effects are glitching out constantly, that is like mechanically a bad film. Like, we can point to those things and we can show that this just is bad, right? But as for the story or how it makes you feel and whether you connect with the characters, that's more of a subjective thing, right? That's not really objective. So with games, there are objective things you can evaluate and there are subjective things you can evaluate. My point is, you can have subjective frustrations. That's fine. But the objective stuff is where you kind of have to back it up if you can. I'm out of coffee. Anyway, using words like bad or good when talking about your feelings about a game. When talking about your feelings, it scrolled. When talking about your feelings about a game is such a non-starter of an argument, IMO. It's just you have to be more precise. You have to be a little bit more precise. Oh God, what time is it? It's already 2:30. Jesus. Jeez, dude. What happened? What happened? Oh man. Proto, thank you, my friend. 17 months. Oh, baby, feels like just yesterday. I sent my first message in your chat. Oh, that's crazy, dude. Almost a year and a half. That's wild. That's crazy. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. That's breaking my brain. That's outrageous. Oh. Finest Friday still. I did not prepare for Finance Friday, so I don't have any funny clips of people being stupid with money, unfortunately. I can see if there's any that pop up the second I like Google it. TikTok Investors always has funny ones. Let's just see what's this.
Excuse me, sir. Quick question for you, man. Is this your Ferrari? Yeah. And what do you do for living out in Los Angeles to be able to afford a Ferrari?
I own my own consulting firm.
So you're a business owner?
Yeah.
And how long have you been an entrepreneur for?
6 years.
And over these 6 years, what's been the most amount of money that you've ever made in a single year?
Just over about 7.1 million last year.
$7 million?
Yeah.
You're sitting in a Ferrari right now. This is a lot of people's dream car. Tell me the story of how you bought this thing.
I'll be honest with you. I had already offsetted all my taxes for the year, and I just wanted a Christmas gift. So I just went and bought myself a Ferrari cash. When you don't pay taxes, a lot of these types of purchases start to become a little bit different.
So you don't pay taxes?
Oh, no, I don't pay any taxes.
Why is that?
People say that it's patriotic to pay taxes. It is not patriotic to pay taxes. It's actually more patriotic to not pay taxes. The government has created this tax system, and it's a legal...
Wait, I'm trying to... He said he offset all of his taxes, so he paid cash for it. Okay, his business must be a disregarded taxable entity or something, and... I don't... Okay. I always get scared when people are like... They bring up taxes and then driving a sports car. I'm like, oh, you gotta be careful with that. Screams rented. Yeah, a little bit. Let's see this one.
I can't write off a private chef, but if I invite somebody over every single night to have business meetings with me and I hire a private chef to cook the meals, I can write off the private chef and the food that went into making the meal. This is how I'm able to afford having that private chef every single year, every single month, every single day inside of my house, making me and my wife meals along with my friends, family members, and my business clients, who also some of my family members sit on my board of directors.
Yeah, see, the thing with audits is that they get to basically decide if something makes sense. So if they know that you're just doing this private chef thing to have a private chef and write it off on your taxes, and they know that you didn't need this for your business, because chances are this guy's business is like selling courses on Discord or something, they're just going to audit you and be like, nope, that's not legitimate. You got to pay back taxes and fees and stuff on all of that. Like, that's a little scary. Oh no. Oh no. 19-year-old millionaire. Is it Bitcoin?
19-year-old millionaire made $8,000 in 2 hours.
The chart is mooning. Look at the chart. We just caught a breakout. Ascending wedge. Oh my god, it's still ripping. $8,000 up, chat. Let's get it, baby. Oh look, 8.6K up. That's literally almost $9,000, guys.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Anybody who's saying it's ripping, chat, don't tell them. Don't listen to them. Just run.
$1,000 up, chat. Let's get it, baby. Oh look, 8.6K up. That's literally almost $9,000, guys. I'm literally making that right now. My position's up 54%, and I bought this 2 hours ago. 54% on your return in just 2 hours. And I've had crazier ones where they go up 500% in 30.
Wait, what did?
Guys, I'm literally making that right now. My position's up 54%, and I bought this 2 hours ago. 54% on your return.
54% on your return. There's certain phrases people use when they don't really know what they're talking about, and it's always funny because it betrays a lot when there's just certain phrases they use. Like that one guy who is like, I'm actually a billionaire right now. The guy's like, really? How? It's like, well, because I could call people right now and get $100 million, then I could put that into a hedge fund reverse cash flow machine thing, and then I basically would be a billionaire already because of leverage. It's like, you just used a bunch of buzzwords, you know, and expected people just to not notice, you know?
Turn in just 2 hours, and I've had crazier ones where they go up 500% in 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's a good point. You just mentioned it sounds like a pump and dump. Well, the fact that he said chat makes me think he was streaming this. And if he was streaming this and he's telling people like, okay, guys, I'm going to buy 8 grand of this thing or 10 grand of this thing. Well, let's see. He was up 8,000. It was like a 50% return. So if he bought like 16, 17,000 of some penny stock, and then he told all of his followers in chat, go buy this thing and it's going to go up in value. And then it pumps. And then he sells before they all sell. He gets out with his massive profit and all of them suffer and take the losses. That is the definition of a pump and dump. And a lot of like, there's a lot of finance streamers and YouTubers that are on like Kick and stuff that just straight up will do that, even though it's hella illegal. And it's just a matter of time before they get caught. That also screams rental. Just gonna say it. Just gonna say it. Seems like a rental to me. Oh no. Oh no. Whenever you see people sitting with sunglasses on inside a room with no windows and they're doing the supervillain fingers, which is what this is, might look like a certain body part. No, this is 1,000 IQ. That's what that means. That's what that means. Let's hear the brilliance that they have for us.
Here with the top 40 real nigga take coin investors. This project is about to get rug fucking pulled. So as you guys can see, it was pumping like crazy here. That's when all of my guys, all of my members were buying. As you saw, it massively dropped because we started enjoying the finer things in life.
Did he just admit to a pump and dump? All my boys were buying, and I think you...
Here, there's some stabilization. But I'm telling you, at 8 p.m. UK time tonight, this will get rug fucking pulled. You guys will be stuck in the Matrix forever. You will be choking, stuck in the Matrix. You'll never be able to escape. Hip hip. Real nigga. Guys.
There's no way that's real, right? There is no way that that's real. That's gotta be like some sort of, I don't even know. But there's no way that's real, right? There's no way. What's this? Breaking news?
Well, we're coming back with breaking news because the live stream has finally started. You can see that right there. About 28 or so minutes late, but nonetheless, it is underway. And we'll see exactly what's gonna happen there. Andrew Left's still standing by. We'll give you updates when they happen. You can judge for yourself what's going on your screen. So let's do some of these moves. Amazon, you bought more.
They just cut to him doing that. Okay. Wow. Intuition and astrology to day trade, dude. Unbelievable. Yeah, use astrology to day trade. Just tell me how it's going.
It's kind of a...
Okay, let's see. This looks brilliant.
You know, if you look outside, it's kind of a gloomy day. But don't ever let that take away the fact that you get to wake up every day privileged enough to drink Casamigos and take steroids. And knowing this...
What? That escalated so quickly. That was wild. Oh, God. I feel like I just got punched in the throat. What? Okay. Wow. Bing, bang, boom.
Take away the fact that you get to wake up...
At first, I was like, yeah, appreciate the day.
Every day privileged enough to drink Casamigos and take steroids. And knowing this, you guys are still gonna make excuses. Oh, but I have to work a job. No, you don't. What's to stop you from committing credit fraud, getting approved for an Amex, maxing it out, putting it all on black, and quadrupling your money? But I know you guys still won't do it. You'd rather, invest in the S&P 500, make 0.5% return a year. We choose to fuck ourselves over. It's all in the mind. You could choose. Take steroids, become an alcoholic, get rich, or stay average just like everybody else. If you...
Okay. I believed it at first because he really gave off that bro energy. But man, that took a nosedive at the end. That was good. He had me going for a minute. This is going to be a tale. We'll wrap up with this one. This is the tale of what happens when people are gambling addicts, but they think that they're investors. It's a subtle distinction, but it's important to note. Okay. I can't believe I'm posting this. 33 female. In 2021, I made $250,000 off Dogecoin, as well as some on Shibu coin or whatever it was, GME and AMC. I put in 6K. Right when they hit highs, I experienced a high of my own. I had my first ever serious manic episode. It lasted for 6 months. I had never experienced a manic episode before, and it was essentially like being blacked out while simultaneously thinking I was invincible, among other things. Nobody around me knew what was happening, and neither did I. I was absolutely insane, posting on social media, gaining over 20K on Instagram simply because of the crazy shit I was doing. Normally, I would have put that money away or invested it, etc. But where did that money go, you ask? This is painful. You'd think that manic me would have gotten some nice things, jewelry, bags, clothes, shoes. Nope. $5,000 on art supplies and toys donated to kids' schools. They never got donated. Toys were also left on the stoops of apartments in Brooklyn because I thought I was Santa Claus. I handed out Barbies to little girls on the street. $12K up front for 6 months of rent. $3K, I bought every single food item, bottled drinks, Starbucks cups, bags in my neighborhood at Starbucks. Okay. I also left this stuff on the stoops of multiple apartments. Literally just throwing the money away. $3,000 for 11 tattoos on my left arm that I would have otherwise never gotten. Probably one of my biggest regrets out of everything. Just chop off my arm, please. I was never a tattoo person. Guess I am now. $7K on mushrooms, weed, and ketamine. $2K on new phones. I gave one away. $2K divided up and passed out to people on the streets. Straight up just Jesse from Breaking Bad. Just throwing it out the car as she drives around. I spent thousands on touring with Dead & Co. for 2 months. I went to 12 shows and was in the front row for each one. I also thought John Mayer would fall in love with me if I did so. Pit tickets, flights, and hotels all over the country. I also found my way to a couple of well-known reality shows, not main cast, due to how insane I was acting. Some of my friends at that time were main cast. I can't say which because that's way too specific and I'm already giving up too much detail in this post. Let's just say I don't think we're friends anymore. Eventually, I lost my job, my apartment, my car, my reputation, family, and friends. But what did I gain? 30K left over in tax debt. After being audited, that's after paying what I thought I owed. I did my own taxes while manic too, WTF. The IRS owns my ass, and now I'm on a payment plan. My family put me in the hospital for a month. I was diagnosed with bipolar and placed, hopefully temporarily, on disability. Now I'm back living with mom and dad at 33. I had an amazing job and life in NYC for 10 years, and it all crumbled. So I've been hiding since. Haven't touched social, and I've deleted most of my Insta feed, deleted Facebook. I worked in PR, and a lot of my job was social, and now I've disappeared. I'm pretty sure people think I stalked John Mayer after posting him 14,000 times at so many shows in front row. High school friends, college friends, work friends, family, they all distanced themselves, and I lost almost everyone aside from a few who I am so grateful for. The tea was hot that year, and being the talk of your hometown is never good. In 2022, when I got out of the hospital, I took the 4K I had left and bought more, and I'm not effing selling. After all that, she spent the last of her money and bought more. Oof. Oof. But this is the thing. Like, some people will get really lucky and they'll win the lottery, which is basically what happened to her. Like, she bought in at the right time, sold at the right time, made a ton of money. That's great. But you shouldn't keep betting because the house always wins. And just because you got lucky once does not mean you'll get lucky a second time. And with that, it's pretty shocking to hear a story like that. How $250,000 out of $6K put in initially. That's an amazing amount of money. And to just literally blow it all is unbelievable. Unbelievable. But I think everybody wants to be rich. Everybody wants the get rich quick scheme. And the truth of the matter is that there just isn't a reliable get rich quick scheme. If there were, everybody would be doing it. It If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. And those stories are just sad because it's like somebody's life was ruined, you know? Somebody's life was ruined. Because they just didn't know how to handle it. So don't do that. That's the takeaway. Don't do that. Anyway, guys, we've been going for with the podcast and everything like 5 hours. So I'm gonna call it there. Go check in on the family and everybody. Yeah, we'll have a great time. You guys have a great weekend. I love and appreciate every single one of you. You guys are amazing. Next week is going to be interesting. Monday is actually my birthday, and so I don't know what the plan is. Nikki tends to orchestrate a secret party or something, so we'll see. I'd still like to stream. I still like to check in, but I will keep you guys in the loop. That's the term I was looking for, in the loop. So we'll see that. Happy Father's Day. Happy birthday. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. It's a great day. It's a great time to be alive. In the words of that guy, why are you complaining when you could be doing steroids and drinking tequila? Like, why are you complaining? It's a great day. So thank you, everybody. Much love. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you, everybody, for all of the super chats and everything. Thank you, Blake, for the super chat as well. Did you ever get into Gears? A little bit. It was kind of before my time when I got really into games, but I'm not opposed to it or anything. Can you talk about Perfect Dark, because I'm excited but also skeptical of it too? I will check it out. I will investigate it. I haven't done a lot of deep diving, so I will let you know. Okay. But until next time, everybody, much love. I'll see you in the next one. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.